Good evening, everybody. We are going to convene tonight's school board meeting. Hold on one second. It's the wrong page. I'm calling to order the October 17th, 2024 Board of Education meeting. We will begin with our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the traditional, ancestral, unceded territory of the Chumash, Tongva, Fernandina, Tatabaim, and First Nations on which we are learning, educating, and living. Before we move on to the pledge, would the interpreter please let us know if we need to slow down? Thank you. Okay. Ms. Solberg, would you like to lead us in the pledge? All those that are able, please rise.
Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Ms. Solberg. Ms. Gutierrez, will you please take the roll call at this time?
Member Tabbitt.
Present.
Clerk Quanser Kamkar.
Present.
Vice President Agakanian.
Present.
President Weisberg.
Present. Reporting on closed session, no votes were taken. Item 6, adjustments to the agenda. Does anybody have adjustments? Dr. Paramo?
Yes, I would like the board to consider moving 13B up to superintendent's comments. 13B is the acknowledgement of Native American Heritage Month.
Sure. Anybody have an issue with that? Sounds good to me. Great. Any other adjustments? All right. Item 7, request for future agenda. Ms. Ponser-Kamkar.
Thank you, President Weisberg. I'd like to add, non-emergently, a discussion about elementary homework policy. Yes. Please. Thank you.
I would like to add a discussion about, I'm saying open enrollment not because I want open enrollment, but because I can't think of a better word, but our enrollment policies and procedures in light of student retention and enrollment. Dr. Agakanian.
Madam Chair, I would like to see if we can look into the traffic concerns around Mirror, and if we can work with the Transportation Commission from the city, try to see if we can, look at what's happening there, do a study, and see if there's any solutions or recommendations we can come up with. Thank you.
Yeah, bingo card. Go.
No, but can we add to that and not just do Mirror, but look at our 5 secondary schools where there's large amounts of traffic situations, and I'm sure the situation that's happening at Muir where driveways are being not purposely but maybe thoughtlessly covered as people get their kids across the streets, etc., are happening at other locations too.
You okay with that?
I'm okay with it, but I think if we can start with Mirror.
Sure.
And then look into the other ones. That's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Fine.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Any other agenda requests? Okay. We're going to move on to item 8, presentations and recognitions. I'm going to introduce the fantastic Dr. Macias, who introduced yet again Carolyn Solberg to present the BAEF Fall Grant Cycle.
Good evening, Dr. Weisberg, Board of Education, district staff. It is my honor to introduce Ms. Caroline Solberg, our chair from our Burbank Arts and Education Foundation. I do believe we have other members of the foundation, so please come on up and they will share about the fall grant cycle.
Good evening, Board President Dr. Weisberg, School Board Superintendent Dr. Paramo, and staff and school board members. We are thrilled to be here tonight. Before I begin, there are so many teachers and administrators here, and you're all here, and we wanted to take a moment to thank you for joining us at the State of the Schools. We know that it was a school night, and we really appreciate that you were there to support us in that evening. So thank you very much. We're excited to share with you that in 2024, through our united efforts with the Burbank community to support the students in the Burbank schools, this year we funded 45 grants totaling over $100,000. Strong schools lead to strong communities, and we are proud to be a part of the efforts to support the Burbank schools. As I announce your school's grants, please join me up here. You don't have to say anything, just come and join us up here. Washington Elementary School. We've donated funds toward their music center assembly, books for a classroom library, funds toward the 24th Street Theater field trip, novel studies for third graders, support equipment for their de-escalation room, RTI supplies, supplies for art diversity projects for second graders, and PE equipment for second graders. Roosevelt Elementary School. We provided funds for them to build their outdoor classroom. Bret Harte Elementary School. We provided funds for yoga mats for a classroom. Disney Elementary School. We provided funds for new furniture for their library and supplies for their school-wide art fest. Miller Elementary School. We provided funds for supplies for integrated art and science projects. Providencia Elementary School. We provided funds for age-appropriate books for students with reading challenges and cameras for photography instruction. Jefferson Elementary School. We provided funds for flexible seating and supports for their special education classroom and sensory supports for use by the behavior interventionist that serves both Jefferson and Washington Elementary Schools. Huerta Middle School. We provided funds for a color printer and for risers in the choir room. Luther Middle School. We provided funds for lunch tables, furniture for the library, an iMac for the yearbook class, and funding for the World History Day. John Muir Middle School. We provided supplies to help create their stone monument for peace, instrumental music coaches, books for classroom libraries, supplies for projects, and a unit to share the rich history of art in the American deaf culture, and funding to help with their Desmos math software. Monterey High School. We provided funds for a field trip to Chavez Ravine as part of their History of the Dodgers in California class. And hopefully those Dodgers are doing well. Are they up?
3-1.
Excellent.
But who knows?
Think good thoughts. Burroughs High School. We donated funds for video equipment for the digital media class, funds for the Holocaust Survivors Play, technology accessories for special education, financial literacy books, LED stage lights, which are safer than what they have now, a culinary arts field trip, which will include students from the highly, what's it called? Say it louder. Thank you. Moderate severe disabled class. So it'll be a joint field trip. And funding for musical instruments. Burbank High School. We provided funds for Warner Brothers field trip, instrument repair for the band, new musical instruments for the band, and funding for the Holocaust Survivors Play. District-wide, we provided funds to help create a community art wall at the Burbank Mall, which will highlight art from all the schools. It will have the ability to change art so that you can put some in for a while, and then that school can take it out, and a new school can put it in, and it'll be ongoing, I believe maybe on the third floor. And that also involved the art teacher from Burbank High collaborating with the elementary schools. We provided funds for a program called Drums United, which is Burbank High and Burroughs High have come together to build a program, which is a drum line where they perform and they do competitions. And so we provided funds for some instruments for that, as well as PE equipment for the adaptive PE program. It is only with the incredible support from the families and our Burbank community that all of this is possible. And we want to thank you all so much. And if we could take a picture all together, sure, that would be great. So everyone here is just going to step forward and turn around.
Stand behind.
Can you get it wide enough? Do you need people to kneel and get splintered? Or push in there? Squish in as much as you can. There we go.
There we go. On three. 1, 2, 3. There we go.
Thank you all so much. Thank you. That helps us to advertise and people. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
For you, can you also announce?
Hey, I did. For those at home, the way we make all this possible is through donations from the community. If you'd like to support these programs, please go to burbankartsanded.com. .org. Burbank Arts. Is it on there? It's on the check. The website? Oh, we gotta go this way. There we go. And then you can point to it because you're. There we go. It's right there.
Right here.
You cannot see that.
Thank you.
All right.
Go cash it. I think I speak for all of us, and I don't have to speak for all of us. I don't. When I say just a huge thank you to BAEF, we're beyond lucky. I don't think the community truly understands how lucky we are to have community partners like you, who build such personal relationships with each of our school sites and really know their needs and know the student population and the teacher population. We're really unique in that way, and I think there aren't enough words to describe how thankful we are to all of you. But I hope we continue to find ways to express it this academic year and all the academic years to come.
I liked that, whatever that was.
That was good. I don't know. On to reports from the board and staff. 9A, student representatives. Yahoo. We'll welcome back Lala from John Burroughs High School.
Hello and good evening, President Weisberg, distinguished board members, Superintendent Paramo, district staff, and members of the Burbank community. My name is Lala Nestor, and I'm here to share my report on October 17, 2024. This week, ASB is busy getting ready for the homecoming dance this Saturday, and we're really excited to help make it a great night for everyone. Leading up to the homecoming game against Burbank High, ASB will host a Spirit Week with fun themes like Marvel vs. DC, Trick vs. Treat, and of course, Burbank vs. Burroughs. Our counselors have also been meeting with seniors to help them stay on track with their college applications and graduation requirements. In club news, they are thriving with meetings almost every day, and it's wonderful to see so many students getting involved and discovering their interest. In news of the arts, Yearbook is hard at work capturing all of the amazing moments of the 2024 through 2025 school year. Also, our award-winning choir is preparing for their upcoming Burroughs on Broadway performance, which will take place on October 25th, 26th, and 27th, as well as November 2nd and 3rd. Before I finish, I want to take a moment to show appreciation for all of our administrators during School Administrators Week. Your hard work and dedication truly do not go unnoticed, so thank you. I'm happy to report that we don't have any concerns from students at the moment. So are there any questions or clarifications? Okay.
Hold on, I just want to, so my thing was on. The day after you came and talked about the water pressure at Burroughs, our facilities folks were out there fixing it, and it's a done deal. So you should be good now, yes?
Yes, we are.
Okay, great.
We were told it was getting fixed, so thank you.
Yeah, that was good. They watch and pay attention, so thank
Okay.
you to them. And
Thank
I'm
you so
glad
much.
you're
Thank
happy
you.
now.
Thank you, Lala. Next up, Rose from Burbank High.
Good evening, Superintendent Paramo, esteemed board members President Weisberg, Vice President Dr. Aga Kanyan, Board Clerk Kamkar, Board Member Tabet, and all attendees. I extend cordial greetings to each of you this evening. My name is Rosie Langesian, and here are the latest updates from Burbank High School. Firstly, I would like to highlight the ongoing homecoming dance ticket sales, which will continue for the next 2 weeks. Ticket prices are now $50 with an ASB card and $55 without. Additionally, we recently conducted homecoming court nomination votes from Monday through Wednesday, and the homecoming court will be announced next week. In celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month, Burbank High School invited local Aztec dancers to the quad to showcase their cultural dance. ASB has also decorated our campus with a variety of Hispanic flags to honor Hispanic Heritage Month. Regarding fundraisers, our senior class has initiated a Boo Grams fundraiser, which will start next week. Each Boo Gram, priced at $3, will include candies, a sticker, and small Halloween-themed bag. Students will have the chance to write personalized notes to their friends on the Boo Grams, which will be delivered by ASB on Halloween Day during the students' 4th period class. Tomorrow, we are hosting a Pink Out football game against Glendale at BHS, dedicated to breast cancer awareness and serving as a senior night for football, cheer, band, and color guard. Furthermore, our College and Career Center is hosting weekly college visits with representatives from various colleges. This week, we were privileged to have the advisors from Northwestern and UCLA visit our school, providing students with opportunity to book appointments to speak with them. I thank you for your time this evening. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Well done as always. And lastly, but not leastly, the fabulous Vivian from Monterey.
Good evening, Board President Weisberg, distinguished members of the board, Superintendent Paramo, district staff, and our audience. I am delighted to share with you some of the recent events which reflect our vibrant school spirit and commitment to community engagement that have taken place at Monterey High School. Breast Cancer Awareness Month has been the focal point for us this October. To raise awareness and show our support, we distributed pink ribbons to all staff and students. This small gesture has fostered a sense of unity and compassion within our school community, reminding us of all the importance of supporting those affected by breast cancer. In addition to our awareness efforts, we organized a game of musical chairs as part of our Friday advisory competitions. Congratulations to our winner, Emil Agazarian, with Reeves House. Last Friday, we showed school spirit by wearing our favorite sunglasses. The week before, we had a school-wide pajama day, which brought a lot of joy and comfort to our students and staff. It was wonderful to see everyone participate and enjoy a day of relaxation in their cozy attire. Our administrative team has been working hard to host transfer meetings, and we have now been able to welcome new students to Monterey. We are excited to enter new quarter, which includes several new elective classes to choose from. Many students are looking forward to one of our new classes, which is History of the Dodgers. Go Dodgers! Thank you for your time. Are there any questions for me?
What time does that class meet, if someone wants to audit it? I don't think but that's fantastic. Oh, didn't you also just have 6 people graduate? Or
5.
5.
Yes, 5.
That's also really exciting news.
Yes.
So keep up the phenomenal work, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we are going to move to 9B, which is the slot we have reserved for our phenomenal union partners. I don't believe we have anyone here from BTA, but I see 2 fantastic human beings from CSEA, which is our California School Employees Association. For a minute, I was like, did I say it wrong? Who are our amazing classified employees who keep our schools running every single day. Melissa, yes? Come on down. And hello to Laura.
Good evening, President Weisberg, board members, Superintendent Paramo, and staff members. My name is Melissa McLaren, and I'm representing the Burbank Chapter 674 of the California School Employees Association, or CSEA. At the last board meeting, you went on about how much you appreciated the work of the facilities workers to get the air conditioning working in our schools. The facilities workers are classified employees. It's good for them to be recognized as important to the successful functioning of our schools. However, there are over 800 classified employees at Burbank Unified School District, and they too need to be recognized for their daily contributions to the well-being of the students and the success of our district. Our paraeducators are with our students in the classroom assisting teachers. Our campus supervisors are watching over the students at recess, nutrition, and lunch to keep them safe. Our child care workers are taking care of our younger students before and after school. Our health office employees are always ready to keep our students healthy. Our custodians and grounds workers are hard at work keeping our classrooms and campuses clean. Our physical education assistants keep our students active. Our technology workers keep the students communicating in this digital age. Our food service workers are busy making sure that the students get fed nutritionally balanced meals. And our school office staff workers are always available to students and parents. But there are also many classified workers that don't work at a school. Classified workers take care of payroll for district employees, arrange for the hiring of new employees, pay the bills and monitor expenses, provide assistance for homeless and foster youth and special education students, assist the supervisors, directors, and assistant superintendents with their clerical needs, and many other behind-the-scenes jobs within the district. So please remember, when the hard financial decisions about the district budget come, classified employees deserve to be recognized as very important to the overall health of the district. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Did you want to move the item before your report or after?
Right after, I will just.
Great.
I just want to thank Melissa and Laura for reminding us just how amazing our classified folks are. I personally can't do my job without the support I get from them, and they are absolutely vital to the running of our school. I remember when I was getting my teaching credential, one of the things they told me that I've never forgotten is that when you work on a school site, you have to make sure you take care of your custodian and your office manager, because they're going to make your life so much easier. And they said it anecdotally to be funny, but it's honestly the truth. And so I want you to know that I appreciate this group very much. And thank you for being here. At this time, I'd like to invite Dr. Oscar Macias to come forward. He is going to introduce our speaker today for the adoption of Resolution 8, proclaiming November as Burbank Unified School District's National Native American Heritage Month.
Good evening once again. And as our practice, when we do have resolutions in honor of, in this case, November being National Native American Heritage Month, we do have book recommendations that our wonderful Burbank Unified School District library coordinators have compiled. Tonight with us is our Bret Hart Elementary School Library Coordinator, Miss Nikki Capshaw, and I'd like to invite her to the podium, please.
You're going to work that, right?
I can if you'd like.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
All right.
1 second.
Okay. Thank you for inviting us. Good evening, Dr. Weisberg, esteemed board members.
Thank you for
Dr.
not being mad at us
Paramo.
for adding this to your list of a million things to do.
Well, we can't ever be angry. We're part of a team.
That's
We're
right.
all part of a team. All right, so November is designated as National Native American Heritage Month. This observance commemorates the history, heritage, and culture of Native Americans and Alaskan Natives. It is during this month we acknowledge the vast achievements of America's original indigenous people. The BUSD Library Coordinators are proud to present a selection of books that highlight the authors and experiences of these communities supporting this month's resolution. For our elementary students, we present We Are Water Protectors by Carol Lindstrom. This beautifully illustrated picture book was inspired by the Dakota Access Pipeline protests and conveys a powerful message about environmental protection and the importance of Indigenous rights. Another beloved book is Fry Bread, a Native American family story by Kevin Noble Maillard. This touching picture book honors Native American culture and underscores the significance of preserving heritage and tradition. The narrative centers on fry bread, an iconic food that symbolizes resilience and community among many Native American tribes. For our middle schoolers, we have Res Dogs by Joseph Bruchac. This novel in verse is set during the COVID-19 pandemic on the Wabanaki Reservation. The story highlights the silenced histories of Indigenous people while conveying a hopeful message about embracing diversity and change. Our next selection is the graphic novel If I Go Missing by Brianna Johnny, because as any of you with children know, graphic novels are where it's all at. In 2016, 14-year-old Ojibwe Brianna Johnny wrote a viral letter to the Winnipeg police chief demanding action on the disproportionate violence against Indigenous women and girls in Canada. This graphic novel for teens based on her letters explores the issue of missing and murdered Indigenous people in Canada and the systemic issues that contribute to these tragedies. And lastly, for our high school students, we offer the remarkable and poignant novel, There by Tommy Orange. It follows 12 characters from Native communities, all journeying to the big Oakland powwow. Each character is interconnected in ways they may not yet understand. Through this chorus of voices, the novel explores the struggles of urban Native Americans as they navigate a complex and painful history, while also embracing their heritage of beauty, spirituality, communion, sacrifice, and heritage. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Dr. Paramo, can we make sure when the new website launches that there's a spot to put all of the books that our librarians have selected each month for the resolutions?
It's an amazing idea, yes.
Occasionally. We should, I need a motion and a second to approve Resolution 8 proclaiming November as Burbank Unified School District's National Native American Heritage Month.
So moved.
Moved by Dr. Agakanian,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Tabbitt. We've already had the discussion. I'm proud that our board is moving and has moved in the last couple of years in the right direction by including our land acknowledgement at the beginning of our meeting. It's an important step. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Seeing no noes, motion carries unanimously 4-0. Dr. Agakanian, did you want to read it, or did you want,
Stab it.
or, yeah, anybody can.
Whereas from November 1st, 2024 through November 30th, 2024, the United States celebrates National Native American Heritage Month. Excuse me. And whereas National Native American Heritage Month is an opportunity to consider and recognize the contributions of Native Americans to the history of the United States. And whereas Native Americans are descendants of the original indigenous inhabitants of what is now the United States, and whereas Governor Jerry Brown signed AB 738, which requires the state's Instructional Quality Commission to create a Native American Studies class curriculum. I'm having trouble. For high schools that will satisfy the elective course requirements for admission to the University of California and California State and AB 2016, could you open that for me? Which creates an elective high school ethnic studies course that could also include Native American history and culture. And whereas the Bureau of the Census estimated that in 2021, there were more than 6,300,000 individuals of Native American descent in the United States. And whereas Native Americans maintain vibrant cultures and traditions and hold a deeply rooted sense of community, have made distinct and important contributions to the United States and the rest of the world in many fields, including the fields of agriculture, medicine, music, language, and art. And whereas Native American leaders like Muwekma Ohlone Tribe Chair Rose Mary Cambra, Winnebago and Chippewa attorney Colin Cloud Hampson, Amah Mutsun Tribal Band Chair Valentin Lopez, and Indian Canyon Tribal Chair Anne Marie Sayers have sustained Native American culture and traditions and shared them with students, scholars, and the community. Therefore, be it resolved that the Burbank Unified School District Board of Education recognizes the month of November 2024 as National Native American Heritage Month and urges all schools and the community to observe National Native American Heritage Month with appropriate programs and activities.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Beautifully read. Okay. We are going to move on to item 10, request to address the board. An individual or group representative present this evening may address the Board of Education on any agenda item or on any subject within the jurisdiction of the school board by completing a white request card and turning it in to Ms. Quinterio. Speakers are requested to state their name prior to speaking to the board. Not more than 5 minutes may be allotted to each speaker except by unanimous consent of the Board of Education. The superintendent may refer the matter to the proper department for review. The district is providing alternatives to in-person attendance for viewing and participating. I don't believe we have any virtual speakers. Okay. I think that is it. Okay. First up, we have Joel Schlossman, aka Mr. Relentless, followed by Harry Timurian.
Good evening once again, everybody. Ms. Tabbitt, I heard you at the last meeting praising our custodial staff, but you, as the most seasoned member here for 7 years, did not give this group of people a raise. Everybody else here got raises, but that one group. And it's important to note that that one group was 70% from origins in Latin America, and that's problematic for me. So, at the last meeting, I was here 2 meetings ago, I asked this one question. And I've given up getting an answer. I'm not going to get an answer on it tonight. I'll tell you the question, but I don't expect you to answer. Is Measure ABC a new tax, yes or no? And it has to be a yes or no answer. Paramo, at one time I asked you if the buck stops with you, and you told me it did. You're the boss. But you deferred the question when I asked you. And when I had an hour and a half discussion with Mr. Cantwell, he told me he would answer the question 3 times, and he never did. Yes or no? It can't be anything else. Yes or no? And that's part of the deception of this school board, that there's no transparency and you refuse to answer a yes or no question. And the people of Burbank are smarter than that. You're going to have people come up here and say tonight that this bond is the greatest thing and we support it, rah, rah, rah. But they don't know the truth. This hurts the very people. It hurts our students. It hurts the people who can least afford it. Every attorney takes an oath text, and I want to read the last sentence of the oath. As an officer of the court, I will strive to conduct myself at all times with dignity, courtesy, and integrity. Does that sound familiar to anybody? You're supposed to be able to answer a yes or no question, and that's problematic for me. One of the questions that Craig Sherwood asked the two of us is where the money's coming from for the yes vote on ABC. Now, there is a yes website, and you know who's it's registered to? Somebody who does not live in Burbank. That's problematic. Now, I've been seeing YouTube videos, and guess who's paying for them? Not people in Burbank. It's businesses that stand to benefit from the $458 million. It's a company called All American Asphalt out of Corona, California. It's a company called Sucot Construction out of Santa Ana. It should be illegal for these kinds of people to bring in money to try and get it so they can be awarded the contracts for these types of bids on this type of thing. And you want to know where more money's coming from? Unions. Here's Form 460, which you have to file in the state of California. And it's the pipe fitters union, who's not in Burbank. Yeah, it's the, who don't live in Burbank. Not every one of those employees live in Burbank. That's a fact. And it's another union, too, that it's union money. It's not grassroots. It's other people that stand to benefit from this horrible ABC. Vote no on it. I'm going to look at my time. It is a disaster. When you make parents work harder and take time away from their children who they need to be spending time with to cover this $1,100,000,000 You're taking the parents out of the house, making them work longer hours. It hurts our kids. Now, the way you should be doing it, spend less. You have less than 1/10 of 1% of your budget in Form 14, File 14. Cantwell told us what it was, Fund 14, to fix up our schools, less than 1/10 of 1%. You should be ashamed of ourselves. You should put our kids first. Instead, you've put the unions first, your buddies first. This guy making almost $400,000 a year. It's shameful. Okay, here's another item here. You like higher prices? Does anybody notice higher prices anywhere? I read in the LA Times today, Phillips 66 will shut historic Wilmington area refinery complex. That's going to cause, they said it in the article, our gas prices to go up. And our gasoline is a necessity of life for many people who need to go to work, and you're going to be paying more. And it's the cost of eggs, the cost of milk, everything's insane. And you want to make it worse. And it's not business as usual. Cantwell told us you got another bond coming if this fails. That's what he said, in 2 years. And that's not the way we should be doing it. Not a parcel tax. You want that. I'm talking another bond. If this thing fails and the voters say no,
Your time is up. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Tamurian. And after that, Ms. Holly Crow.
Good evening. First time at the school board meeting. Dr. Weisberg, Dr. Agakanian, members of the school board, Dr. Paramo, staff. Good evening. My name is Harry Tamurian, and I'm the president of the Burbank Association of Realtors. As we consider the proposed school bond measure, ABC, it's important to recognize the critical role our schools play in shaping the future of our community. Education is essential, and investing in our schools and school facilities are vital for our community's future. However, it's crucial that we address some key concerns that could impact home ownership and ultimately our community stability. First and foremost, we must recognize that home ownership matters. It's not just about having a roof over our heads, it's about fostering community, stability, and growth. Unfortunately, additional taxes such as bonds and parcel taxes can act as barriers to achieving this dream for many families. These costs can add significant financial burdens that make homeownership increasingly out of reach. You must ensure that any financial measures taken do not exacerbate this challenge. It's up to you guys. It's important to note that this new bond measure replaces an older one. While we understand the intention behind it, you must critically assess how this impacts homeowners in the community. After all, they are the ones paying for these improvements. Trust is the foundation of any successful initiative. If it's your goal for this bond measure to gain broader support, this board must commit to a fully transparent process. Property owners will be footing the bill for this measure, so they will need to know how every single penny will be spent. What are the specific projects? How will the funds be allocated? And most importantly, who will be held accountable if there's financial mismanagement? Transparency will not only build trust among community members, but also ensure that our investments lead to tangible improvements in our schools. So with that in mind, I'm proudly announcing today that the Burbank Association of Realtors is in full support of the bond measure. While we understand and respect the financial burden this measure will place on homeowners, we recognize that the quality of education and quality facilities is a cornerstone of vibrant neighborhoods. We are also in full support and very pleased with the hiring of Dr. John Paramo. We could not think of anyone better than him to lead the school district. His experience in both the classroom and administration, along with his dedication, will be invaluable as we move forward. The Association of Realtors looks forward to working together with this district in finding solutions that enhance our schools without sacrificing the dream of homeownership. Our community deserves both. strong educational facilities, and the opportunity for families to thrive. Thank you very much for listening. I wish everybody a good evening.
Thank you so much. Holly Crow, followed by Derek Crow.
Can you hear me okay? Okay. Hi there. I'm here tonight as one of the parents and advocates for the deaf and hard of hearing in Burbank. So the deaf and hard of hearing program has been a regional gem this whole time, but I was able to help children bring up ones that are confident and students that really exemplify what I had in RIT in New York. And so if I have a deaf child, I had thought I do want them to be in the same school district and have a good foundation as in Burbank High School. Or in Burbank Community, sorry. For a family of 5, I have 3 kids that when I moved here, they go to elementary, middle school, and high school. I have a son that was in preschool with Miss Wewell. She's a certified deaf and hard of hearing instructor who I have confidence. She's the heart of that deaf and hard of hearing program. For 3 years, I found that it was a perfect environment for our children to grow in their educational programs. Everything changed this past May 9th. I had an IEP meeting, and we were discussing my son transitioning to kindergarten. And we discussed, different goals for him, and he was supposed to have 600 minutes with Miss Wewell. It was supposed to be direct communication in American Sign Language. Those minutes were already put down and signed in the IEP. And right now, he's only getting 150 of that SAI, the Specialized Academic Instruction, with Miss Wewell. That is not complying with the agreement that we signed for the IEP. You guys are breaking the law by not meeting the requirements that you guys had initially responded in the IEP. The other parents have approached me and had the same kind of complaint, the same issue. Their IEPs have also been manipulated. It's not just that they are breaking that bond of trust, but it's also the legal rights that we have for our children that you're breaking. And the district, they didn't tell us as parents that the program had changed the level of instruction. So when fall arrived and we started the program, my son was placed in a general education classroom with a general education teacher that does not sign. She has interpreters, she has aides, but that ignores his needs for direct communication and also education. So I looked for just about 30 minutes while he was in the classroom, and I noticed that with that communication prevention, that really was due to overstimulation, visual overstimulation. And that was not the Burbank Deaf and Hard of Hearing program that I thought of as the gold standard. That doesn't support culture for the deaf, that doesn't support anything for them. For 40 years, the deaf and hard of hearing community was under Wewell and also Patty Ivanovic. She is a pillar of strength for our deaf and hard of hearing children. Both of them have really been a great foundation for this whole program. They're amazing. They're special. We really love them. So I'm asking you if you could please listen for the deaf and hard of hearing community. And also as parents, we need that support. And I encourage the board to please restore the deaf and hard of hearing program to the same as what it was before, where we had that deaf education, we had that direct communication. Our children really deserve better. My son deserves better. This program deserves better. So please listen to us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Derek Crow, followed by Catherine Hilterman. Please let me know if I mispronounce name.
Hi, good evening. I'm Derek Crow, the husband of Holly Crow, and the father of 3 wonderful children currently in this school district here. I stand before you today not just as a concerned parent, but as an advocate for the deaf, and specifically to students here in Burbank, the deaf students here. The challenges they face are not merely just a lack of accessibility, but more profound matters of equity and justice in education. So tonight we must confront the reality that our DHH program here, which once was a beacon of hope and excellence, it's at a crossroads. And it's essential that we come together to ensure that all deaf students in this community receive a high quality education that they deserve, an education that values their unique identities and provides them with tools to thrive in a world that sadly often overlooks their needs. When the community learned of the ASL class closure at Burbank High School, Patty stepped in and she spoke out during a board meeting in June and advocated for our children. And a teacher was hired, which was excellent, but this illustrates that the district is more reactive in their approach, and we would rather see that the board be more proactive in these things. Currently, we're lacking a qualified teacher for the deaf in the TK and kindergarten classroom, and also a capable DHH coordinator. The current coordinator, Adriana Latravelis, lacks a background in DHH education, and her lack of transparency and some of the decisions that she's been making is causing harm to our children. And really, she's not an ally of the deaf community. And her claim is that she listens to the board, which raises some questions because the members of the board have not been listening to the deaf community. This past Monday, October 14th, the district finally reposted the TK kindergarten position for a DHH teacher, which I was very happy to hear. This was great news, but parents should not have to fight and seek legal counsel for the district to do what's morally and legally right. Assembly Bill 1938, this strengthens our case. It requires schools to consider the full language access needs of the deaf and hard of hearing students. The full language access. Direct access to language is essential for deaf students. Placing them in an inadequate setting not only violates the law, but it also disregards their rights to a meaningful education. By following the new educational code, BUSD can return to its glorious days of practices for the deaf children. This program has been a staple of this community. I'm not sure if you guys were aware of that. And under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, my son and every other deaf child has a right to a free and appropriate public education in the least restrictive environment. For deaf students, this means a language-rich environment with peers and teachers who can communicate directly in ASL. In a general educational classroom, it does not provide that. This DHH program, which once sets the gold standard for bilingual deaf education, it's being undermined. The district's failing in its legal and ethical obligations to provide proper access to specialized instruction. In closing, I implore this board to recognize that our DHH students here deserve more than compliance. They deserve a robust and nurturing educational environment that empowers them to thrive. The path forward requires a proactive stance, not a reactive one. We must advocate for qualified educators and ensure that our children have access to language and resources that they need to succeed, not only in the classroom, but for the years to come and for the rest of their life. And let us not forget the legacy that was established, a legacy of excellence for Burbank District DHH program. Together we can continue that legacy, not let it die, and create a future where the children can come and they're accommodated and they're celebrated for their unique identities and abilities. And the time to act is now. And our children, they are counting on you, and they're counting on us to speak up and for us to make the right choices regarding their education and their future. So please, we just ask that you listen to us and that you stand with us, that we come together and we do what is right. And I just want to close that I think this district is phenomenal. Every school that I go to here for my children, elementary, middle, and high school, I'm just blown away by what I see, and I'm jealous that I did not have the same opportunities that they do. So, thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Crow. Next, we have Ms. Hilterman, followed by Eric Hawk.
Let me know when you're ready. Good evening, President Weisberg, Vice President Agakanian, Ms. Ponser-Kamkar, Ms. Tabbitt, student members of the board, and esteemed guests. Thank you for the opportunity to come before you today. My name is Catherine Hilterman, and I am an ASL interpreter for the Burbank Unified School District. I want to be clear that I, as a hearing person, in no way, shape, or form represent the deaf community, nor do I claim to know what is best for deaf children. I hope that my words today will amplify the demands of deaf and hard of hearing children and adults, and in turn move the district to act. For purposes of this statement, the quote, signed language will indicate American Sign Language, since it is the sign language most commonly spoken here in the U.S. The word deaf will be to acknowledge those who identify as culturally deaf, deaf plus, deaf disabled, deaf blind, hard of hearing, as well as those who view themselves or their children as having a hearing loss or impairment. This is done to respect the complexity of the deaf identity, as well as provide a model for the most accepted identifier chosen by community members who sign, as well as those who do not. When I was a college student, Patty Ivankovic was not only a teacher of the deaf and hard of hearing in BUSD, she was also my professor. She shared volumes about the tripod program and the critical importance of access to a sign language for deaf children. I was already set on becoming an interpreter, but I realized that I wanted to work in K-12 because I believe deaf children deserve a language-rich environment with access to a sign language, regardless of what technology or devices they may use. Research published in February of this year in the peer-reviewed journal Developmental Science supports the argument that every deaf and hard of hearing child must have access to a sign language from birth, including the time before and after cochlear implantation for candidates who are eligible. Academics at CSUN, Gallaudet, RIT, and TID have spent decades researching the weaknesses in deaf education. And I must say with a broken heart that I believed Burbank was an exception to the trend of deaf ed programs in shambles. I was wrong. When I applied to work for this district 3 years ago, I did so under the impression that Burbank no longer had tripod, but that they were still at the forefront of mainstream deaf education and that ASL was valued and protected. Again, this has not appeared to be true. My dream job has become no more than a system of oppression, myself a cog in a machine meant to turn out mediocre results and perpetuate discrimination against deaf people. Deaf children deserve more than throwing an interpreter in front of them and calling it access. A sign language interpreter can only interpret effectively when the deaf consumer possesses fluency in a signed language. We are not teachers or language models. In the K-12 setting, a huge part of our job is empowering our students to become independent thinkers and knowledgeable consumers. Instead of teaching them the ASL signs for subject-specific concepts, they should already know them or have a basis to learn that new terminology in ASL and written English. They should have goals to reflect they are learning the skills of requesting interpreters, or even better, confirming when there will be interpreters automatically provided to alleviate the stress of whether or not they will miss information. All of these issues stem from a central point. The district must make serious changes in order to dismantle systemic autism. DHH students benefit from robust language exposure in assigned modality. They should have IEP goals focused on ASL fluency, prosody, grammar and syntax, as well as the critical skill of public speaking in American Sign Language. This will empower them to become active participants in their communities. They will not just know sign or depend on sign language, something we would never say about a person who depends on speaking. A strong foundation in ASL affords deaf and hard of hearing students a strong language base for developing their English language skills, spoken or written. Language begets language, communication begets communication. Speech and sign language is equal in value to speech and oral languages. At this time, I ask the board to act in such a manner that honors and respects ASL as much as the other languages spoken in our community. Seek to understand rather than to be understood. Sit in conference with deaf community advocates who are deaf and hard of hearing themselves, since they are the true experts on the lived experience of deaf people. Thank you.
Eric Hawk, followed by Leanne Matusik.
Okay, hey, some impressive, wonderful presentations, comments, and announcements. I'll try my best to get through this public comment. Hey, my name is Eric Hawk, president of the Burbank Community Band, and good evening to the members of the Burbank School Board, wonderful district staff, as well as others who've come this evening to participate in this evening's meeting. First of all, a big thank you to this board. I do, and the band does always appreciate the support that this board has given and this district has given for a local volunteer band here in Burbank. In a little bit over a week, the Burbank Community Band will have its first concert of this 2024-2026 season. It will be our Halloween concert. This is going to be on Saturday, October the 26th at 5 p.m. at First Christian Church of Burbank at 221 South 6th Street. This is going to be the Burbank Community Band's second annual Halloween concert, featuring music of this haunting season, so including pieces like March of the Trolls and La Tragedia from Puccini, from Edvard Grieg. Also music from stage and screen, such as from Danny Elfman pieces from The Nightmare Before Christmas and Beetlejuice, as well as Harry Potter and Wicked, as well as different composers there. This will be a free concert, and to further celebrate the season, we will also have a costume contest for those who attend the concert, adults who attend the concert in costume, as well as children who attend the concert in costume as well. And with respect to this concert, I'm also very happy to say this concert is being made possible by the generous support of a Burbank Arts grant that's helping make this possible. So following very closely, almost as closely as I can get these flyers out, following very closely on the heels of that, there are going to be a pair of patriotic performances that the Burbank Community Band is going to do. On Monday, November the 11th, Veterans Day, the Burbank Community Band will be performing ahead of the city's Veterans Day ceremony at McCambridge Park at the corner of San Fernando and Amherst at the McCambridge Park War Memorial, and that'll start at 10:15. Pieces such as America the Beautiful and this really wonderful piece called Missing Man are going to be some things that we have in there. The third show I wanted to mention, but it's a little bit challenging to attend because it's happening during traditional school hours, but it's on the flyer, so I should probably mention it. But I'd like to, it is, maybe some attending or watching might be able to make it, but it is on Friday, the Friday before Veterans Day, kicking off the Veterans Day holiday weekend. This will be on Friday, November the 8th. The band has been invited to perform at the VFW here in Burbank at 1006 Magnolia, and that'll be at 10:30 in the morning on Friday, and this will be a really special experience. Many of you have probably gone to a coffee shop or a cafe where there's a guitarist or a vocalist sort of performing in a corner. This is going to be a similar thing. There's a bar and a pool table, and there'll be 50 musicians crammed into this little space. So that's going to be a really neat thing. If you can make it, some of you may not be able to if you're in school, but if you can make it, certainly welcome you to attend. And finally with that, thank you again, and thank you for this board's support. Really, the band appreciates it and hope you can come to 1, 2, or 3 of the band's upcoming shows. So thank you very much this evening.
Leanne Matusik, and my last card is Robert Kampener. Please tell me if I mispronounced it. It was all right?
But it's all right.
Correct me up here so I can say it right. Thank you.
Good evening, board members, student representatives, Dr. Paramo, and community members. My name is Leanne Matusik, and I'm a mom to 3 boys, a 21-year-old and 17-year-old twin boys. One of my 17-year-olds is in his sophomore year at Burbank High School and is in the Deaf and Hard of Hearing program. He is a late diagnosed deaf individual. We found out he has severe hearing loss in his right ear and moderate to severe in his left at 9 years of age. Hearing aids help him, but he still struggles to hear everything going on around him. I have seen him flourish in the DHH Total Communication Program. He is picking up American Sign Language so quickly. I'm so proud of him. We are slowly finding our way in this beautiful community that has embraced our family and my son and helped guide me to get him the education he has every right to have. I spoke to the board last May about my concern over the lack of credentialed DHH teachers at the high school level. I also spoke about the lack of interpreters and a qualified ASL teacher. I want to congratulate the district on getting those positions filled, and filled with appropriately credentialed individuals. But I am speaking today because all of that happened due to pressure from the deaf community and community allies. Now, the elementary and middle schools are struggling in the same way. I, like most parents, would like to move past this, put out the fires as they happen approach to our kids' education, and adopt an approach that calls for thoughtful planning and outreach within the deaf community, and also to those institutions that educate the educators seeking employment in those hard-to-fill positions. So let's not wait. Let's not just put an ad in EduJoin for a month and see what happens. Filling these positions takes picking up the phone and networking with those academic institutions that train these necessary employees for an equal and appropriate education for our deaf students. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our final speaker. It's a bold hat choice, sir.
I felt that when I was walking up, not gonna lie.
Did you see the icy glare?
I have the game recorded, so no updates on the score. I'm gonna try to keep this quick. This is very important that I'm here. More important than baseball. My name is Robert Campagna. I am the father of Oliver and Wesley. My son Wesley has moderate to severe hearing loss in his left ear. Both my sons, Oliver and Wesley, are very bright boys with great communication skills, which is a direct result of the education they received under Wendy Wewell, Miss Rubina, and Blanca. This is a natural and good consequence of the DHH program, giving kids an opportunity to be included and heard while providing them with a strong education. When I found out my son had hearing loss, I tried to cover up my ear as much as I can to see what he hears and see what he feels. It's one of our 5 senses. That's all we have, and some kids who are starting out in this very unfair world are missing one. Hold on. The resources of the DHH program are absolutely necessary, not just for the kids who need it, but for their peers to learn too, so they can communicate with their classmates. It's a language. Everyone should know a little. I ask myself when there is a big change, whether at work, in life, or in school, I ask, what is the benefit of what is being done? What is the benefit of removing such a great program that helps so many students that need it? The children are getting hurt. It doesn't make sense to me. I was scared when I found out my son had hearing loss. I was scared because I didn't know how the world was going to treat him, how he was going to adapt in the world, not being able to hear as well as everyone else, not knowing what direction the sound is coming from that's dangerous crossing a street. And I felt safe dropping my son off at George Washington Elementary because they had professionals like Wendy Wewell, Patty Ivanovic, that will be able to provide way more than I could provide at home. They have the knowledge and skill set to further my kids' learning and confidence, and they learn so much that they come home and they teach me sign language. I know enough to sign my name. I had the courage to address a coworker, and I introduced myself, and now I try to see him as much as I can, and I try to impress him with a new phrase. I'm learning. Everyone should be open to learning. And I did just a little bit of research because I wanted to see what the DHH program was all about, and I came across an article at the New York Times of 2011 with talking about a gentleman, Steve Silverman, who accomplished so much in his 20 years here at the George Washington Elementary School working with Patty. Patty was mentioned in the article. It was about the tripod program and about bridging the gap. That's what this is for. It's about bridging the gap. Because as Steven said, I'm just pulling up the article here. People in the deaf culture, they don't feel handicapped. They don't believe they are disabled. They say amongst themselves they could do everything but hear, right? So this is our job. This is our job as parents, as teachers, is to not leave a kid behind. You have to include everyone. And by removing the DHH program, you are just not giving the kids what they need. And I know a lot of people changed their lives to come to Burbank School District because this was such a strong program. You know, I know Holly Crow and Derek Crow. I'm Sebastian, their son's baseball coach. You know, that's a great, you know, it's a great sport, you know, for everyone to learn. It's a lot about accountability and how you just got to keep moving forward. And if everyone does their job, success is right there. And I see these kids showing up wanting to learn. Now it's your job to give them the tools so they can learn. That's all I'm going to say, is that this is very important. And let's go Mets. Thank you.
That is our last. Did you have a Maggie? Come on. Come on down. One more chord.
Hello, everyone. Hello, board.
Maggie.
Magali Huerta.
We need. Can you give?
Yeah. Bring
Great. You can do it at the.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Magali Huerta. I am, well, most of you know me, some of the people here too. I am one of the cafeteria managers at the Burbank Unified School District. And I'm here tonight because I know we've been doing great at sending the emails, inviting all the parents to fill up a meal application. But as a parent and as a family member of kids in the Burbank Unified School District, I just came here so everyone can come and fill up an application, please, because it's not just a meal. California has what they call universal meals. So regardless of your income, your child will be fed nutrition and lunch, regardless of if you're making more than anybody. But this application will help your student, especially since we're coming to the stretch of correct me if I'm wrong, the spring, fall semester or the summer? A lot of the students in the high school really benefit from it, especially students that have AP classes or are getting ready, because they can get a lower cost on an AP test or free in some of the cases. Also, it provides outside the Burbank Unified District some resources, like families that are really low income can benefit from the holiday program, which is a great program in the Burbank Unified that the city of Burbank itself coordinates with the schools, and they provide meals and little gifts for families that probably can have a hard or tough time getting them. Also, some parents can get free childcare, which I know can be very expensive. I have two myself. And then not only that, but it can, guide you to other programs outside the Burbank city into the county that can qualify these families, even for low-income housing. So please, if you guys have any doubts, any questions, you guys can feel free to reach our department, which is the food service department. I don't have my email address right now, but you can get a call to the Burbank Unified School District, ask them to transfer you. We will be more than happy to help you, or reach out to your cafeteria manager in your elementaries, middle school, high school. They are all welcome to talk to you, clear any doubts that you have, because your application may say, your application has been denied, does not mean we're not gonna feed your child. We're gonna reassure you that every child gets fed. And if you guys got to look at our menus, just so you guys know, I served fried rice beef today, and we had avocado toast, I think it was this day. Philly cheesesteaks, so I'm not trying to make anybody hungry. But tomorrow, I'll have a Cubano sandwich too, so thank you very much. I know I had to come to see you too.
So happy to see you.
Thank you, have a good night.
Thank you, Maggie. Thank you to everybody. We will move to superintendent responses, 10B.
Thank you so much. I'd like to start by recognizing Harry from our realtor group, and what I will share with the community is that this is a relationship that I value so much. I've gotten to know Harry over the last 2 years, this last year more in particular, and I couldn't have a better partner. I meet with that group regularly. It's a large group. I've invested a lot of time there because they have so many questions. We have talked for hours about how school districts are funded, how the bond works. They've invited me to meet with a larger group of realtors and answer their questions. And so to have their endorsement on this means the world to me. Financial mismanagement, that's my responsibility. And if there is financial mismanagement, then that lies on my shoulders. And I'm not going to let anybody down. I don't want anybody to feel apprehensive about the bond and how that's going to be managed. Because I'm in communication with real people, and these are real people that hold me accountable. These are real people I sit down with and look across the table with, and I'm committed to that, and I'm committed to keeping to our obligations and to making sure that it is done correctly. And you guys already know, because we've talked about it, there are mechanisms in place to make sure that the money is spent appropriately and it's overseen by people in the community. And so I hope that our folks feel comfortable knowing that there's going to be that level of eyes on this project should it pass. Eric, you are a very inspirational man. You should be an inspirational speaker. We're going to have to talk. I'm going to, with your permission, ask Cindy Q to put the flyer, scan it, and get it on a BUSD e-news so that goes out to the larger community, and you can get the turnout that you're expecting. If it's okay with the group, I'm going to encapsulate everyone that spoke regarding DHH and the DHH program as a collective group. And the first thing that I want to say to you is that we're not closing a program. I have no intention of closing a program. And if this is not the gold standard that you were used to, then my commitment is to get us to the gold standard that you were used to, because this is important to me. I will tell you that as a very young principal, first year at John Muir Middle School, when I was the principal there, Patty came to my office and she spent a considerable amount of time educating me on the deaf community, on the deaf program. She took me into classrooms. It was a very quick learning curve for me because I was the principal of a school that had a program that was special, that was unique, and was important. And I know that that same level of commitment is still at John Muir Middle School, and that the entire school embraces that culture. It has not gone away. And I don't want it to go away. I do accept the challenge of staffing because it's real. And I'm not offended when the public, when you folks say it looks like you're being more reactive than proactive. I get that. What I will tell you is that the very teacher who went to Burbank High School to teach ASL was approached the year before, and we were trying to get her to Burbank High School to help with the ASL program. And at the time, she wasn't ready to go, and that's okay. I didn't have a problem with that, but we were trying to be proactive. When we had the situation that occurred and we flew the job and we couldn't find anybody, she came and said, okay, well, I'll do it. I don't want the program to be jeopardized, so I'll do that. But my point is that we were trying to be proactive the year before. And if we need to do better, then we'll do better. But I want you to know that that's a commitment of ours. I meet with the superintendents in our 5-star coalition on a regular basis. So it's a superintendent from La Cañada, the superintendent from Glendale, the superintendent from us and Pasadena and South Pass, and the ones that have the SELPA groups meet to get together with the SELPA director, which is Jay Schwartz. Our last two meetings were focused almost primarily on DHH. So it's not just Burbank Unified that's trying to work and address these challenges, it's also the SELPA that is helping us. And in fact, recently, with the concerns that you have brought forward, we've had even more communication with Jay Schwartz, and she is filling us in because she's also communicating with the state, and she's giving us feedback. I want to give you the most current update on our staffing situation because we do have a position that we're trying to fill. And it is I want to use the exact words that were used before. It is my vision, it is our collective vision that you have a certified deaf and hard of hearing instructor, not a general ed teacher. That's the goal. You don't have to worry about that. I'm having trouble finding one. So I'm gonna have our assistant sup of HR just explain to you what we've done and where we are in the process.
As you know, we do have the position posted on EdJoin. Right now, we have 4 applicants. Unfortunately, none of them have the appropriate certifications. We'll continue to fly the position. And to one of the gentlemen's, Ms. Matusik, yeah, to your point, we are reaching out to our university partners. We have an agreement with Cal State Northridge. We also do with Cal Lutheran. If you have any contacts, please be in touch with me because that is a great way for us to try and reach out to other universities. And we can't, as someone else said, you can't just post on EdJoin. It's not the only way to get teachers. So I'm open to meeting with you and hearing if you have any ideas for recruitment.
I also want to recognize how essential and critical Wendy is to our program. I know this. I want to make sure that we're clear that just for the general public who might not know, Wendy still is at Washington and she still is supporting. So I think that's a good thing. And based on what I'm hearing from all of you, I think that you think that's a good thing. So we will continue with that. I know that Dr. Knappich is working with our special ed director, and we're trying to get a mechanism in place to be able to hear from the community, and we're working on that, and we'll be sending out an invitation so that we can hear from you more directly. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll move on to board responses. Ms. Tabbitt.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Paramo, for your words to our deaf and hard of hearing families that came down and spoke to us today. As you know, you've heard before, I've lived in this community all my life, but I did teach in another district, and I was constantly bragging about the programs we had here in Burbank, specifically here in Burbank, that was for the deaf and hard of hearing specifically. And I'm happy to hear that it's been thought of as the gold standard, but also disappointed to hear where we are now. I want you to know that we've all heard you. Someone specifically said that, Derek Crow, I think, that you wanted to be recognized and heard. You definitely have been heard, and I have a lot of faith in our leaders to make sure that this, if he says this program is going to be a gold standard again, I have faith that that's going to happen. Most specifically because I know all of us feel that your children not just require it, but they deserve it. And so I want to make sure that all of us stay on top of this and make sure we get to the bottom and get our gold standard back in place so that you're coming back to visit us and giving us the 2 thumbs up and saying it's shiny gold, shiny, shiny. So thank you. Mr. Schlossman came and spoke tonight, and I've always said that I promise to only say something when he is really incredibly wrong. And I really want to say that he was really incredibly wrong when he said we did not give our custodians a raise. Yes, everybody, when we give a raise, everybody gets the raise. Everybody. There was a job study done at a point, which may be what he's referring to, where certain job descriptions were redone, and it was a long study. It wasn't something done quickly. So the custodians during that job study were not a part of it, but hopefully someday, if there's additional money that we could put towards an additional job study, we'll focus on those custodians. But everybody gets a raise, not just some people, and some folks are left out. It was great to see one of the many departments, Mrs. McLaren, when Maggie Huerta came in to talk about the importance of filling out the free and reduced lunch forms. That's the kind of dedication that I'm talking about when I talk about facilities, but you're right, it's across the board. Folks who work here in Burbank Unified are diligent, they care, they really put forth an effort. And for her to leave her family tonight to come down and talk about something that needs to happen for the good of so many, I really think is important. So thank you, Ms. Huerta, for doing that. Thank you for everyone who takes, I know you leave your family, you come and you have another family here at a school site that takes lots of energy and time to take care of. So it is appreciated across the board. Mr. Hawk, thank you for all you do to make sure that the music continues to play so that our community gets to hear live music, which I think is super important. We're back to, I get to say other stuff later on. This is just for the folks. Okay, I think I hit everybody that, Mr. Tamarian from the Board of Realtors, thank you so much for coming down. As somebody who spent 8 years at the last 2013 bond issuance on the facility subcommittee, as a ad hoc member of the, thank you for your help, of the oversight committee. There is many avenues that we reported how we spent the money. Besides the oversight committee, we did spend some money to put on our website a almost in real time link that you could see exactly where dollars were spent almost as they were spent. I mean, that would be impossible to do it as they were spent, but almost as they were spent. And I never heard a word back from the community that they felt we weren't spending the money correctly or misappropriating money ever until most recently. So I think sometimes, as we heard from Mr. Schlossman, that there can be a rumor mill or a twisting of words that aren't exactly true, or maybe drawn from that don't exactly repeat what's exactly happening. So I hope people are careful about that and ask. But I can tell you that due diligence was done. Ask Mr. Applebaum, who was on those committees with me, that every type of due diligence was done to make sure that the community knew that we were completely transparent with how the money was spent. And we'll do it again, 100%. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Clerk Ponser-Kamkar.
Thank you, President Weisberg. Thank you to all the folks that came out to speak and communicate tonight. I'm going to just rely on what Dr. Paramo has told us about the program. I think what I start to worry about is that we need to open up the lines of communication, because until kind of Dr. Paramo made us aware of this issue, we didn't know it was an issue. And that people were upset and thinking that the program was going away or changing. And so I absolutely agree that your children have a right to those services, that they deserve those services, and that we should be providing them. And I would ask that we try to keep an open line of communication so that we can talk about what's happening, so that we can talk together to try to recruit qualified teachers if they're missing, things like that. But thank you for coming and for advocating on behalf of your students. I know it's not always fun to come and talk at the dais. Mr. Hawk, I will be there on the 26th, perhaps with some children, we'll see. If they're good, they will be rewarded with a trip to the Burbank Community Band. And to talk, so thank you to Mr. Tamurian for talking about the bond a little bit. I know I received my property tax bill this week. Our rate was about 39 something per $100,000 of assessed value, which is lower, I think, than it's been in previous years. As we've said, we don't anticipate it being much higher. We have a bond that's coming off. I'm a little concerned that Mr. Tamurian asked where the money was coming from, because we know it's coming from property taxes. And if that hasn't been clear, that should be at this point. To Mr. Schlossman's worry about the economy, I share that worry. I would also say that public infrastructure investment creates jobs. We are going to talk about in item 13D our support for Proposition 2, which is the state facilities bond. And in that resolution, it says that for every $1 billion of bond investment, there's 13,000 middle-class jobs created. So, we've got about $500 million that we're trying to approve here. That's about 7,500 jobs, right? No, other way around, 6,500. So 6,500 middle-class jobs is nothing to sneeze at. And I feel really good about the fact that our union partners are supporting us, that they want to be working with us, and that we're going to be able to provide some of those well-paying jobs in Burbank. So I think that is all that I have. Again, thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Agakanian.
Thank you. Thank you to our parents here and members of deaf and hard of hearing community. So I agree with my colleague said about, I heard the word, let's not be proactive, let's be proactive, not reactive. That is not the intention. And I can tell you as a board member, our job is to listen to you. So again, going back to the communication lines, all of you have access to our emails or cell numbers, some of us. Please, when these concerns come up, let us know. As the old Hagakure saying goes, attend the small problem issue before it becomes a big issue. And as someone who's worked on these issues in the past, on legislation, AB 306 to be what I worked on when I worked for Majority Leader Fromer, it was the Braille literacy bill. So I got to know the communities better. I think to Ms. Crone, Derek, and Mr. Campagna, did I say it right? Yes. Yes. Despite the fact you're wearing a Mets hat, as a parent, your children, of course, they deserve the best. Every child deserves the best. But thank you for being here, and thank you for talking about this. This is, as a parent, So trust me, we're here, but we also, I don't like the word when I hear the word you're being reactive, We're here for you. We will be proactive. We will bring this forward. But I think also, I can tell you, even in the field I'm in, higher education, it's very hard to find individuals in the field. So we need your help. Yes, there are websites. But imagine if you can talk to our director of HR here and give him some recommendations. Friends and families, So again, but thank you for being here. I won't tell you the score. You're not going to be happy. Oh, I'm sorry. You're going to be very happy. I'm sorry. Makes you feel better. I'm a New York Giants fan. How's that for a good one?
Share your misery. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I know it's football, but I'm a Dodgers fan, but at least when it comes to New York, I'm a Giants fan. It's a long story. I'll tell you why one day. So again, we're here, and thank you very much for all the parents and members being here. Again, I think my colleagues have already talked about this in more detail, so we will come back on it. Also to Melissa from CSA, thank you very much for bringing back, on the list, because a lot of people don't know what's entitled. But I can also tell you, just the work that all these individuals do, it's difficult. You get picked on all the time because you're in the field. So next time you see any of these individuals who just listed, go just and thank them. Thank them for what they do. I think people forget how important these individuals are in making sure that our schools are in an excellent level. So next time you see any of these individuals who were just mentioned, just walk up to them, whoever is listening, and thank them for all they do. It's a difficult job. So thank you for clarifying and going to the list. I know it was a long list, but we're here also to educate the public, right? So thank you for being here, and thank you for all of our school employees. I do also want to thank Burbank Arts and Education Foundation for the presentation. Those scholarships do matter a lot, especially nowadays. I know one of our speakers was talking about economic issues. Well, it's becoming more difficult to raise money nowadays. The uncertainties, the stock market, trust me, I'm in that field, so we're seeing a decline. But to see the numbers we just saw tonight, thank you very much, because these grants change people's lives. It changed not only the students, but also the parents, the teachers. So thank you for all you do, and make sure you do donate to the Burbank Arts and Education Foundation. They're a 501c3, so you can use it for write-off purposes for your taxes. So thank you for all you do, and it was a wonderful event, and I was very happy to be there and be one of the sponsors. Mr. Hawk, thank you very much again. I will come back again and reiterate what I talked about last time. We need a tuba for Burbank Arts and Education. There's a great short film they made called the Tales of Two Tuba. One of our students at Burroughs, her tuba, just like our, Burbank, sorry, I said it again, Burroughs, sorry. I will repeat it again. Thank you for, I made the same mistake last time, sorry. But just like some of our HVACs, you can only fix them so many times, right? Well, a tuba, you can only fix it so many times. It needs to be replaced. So we're looking for people, again, I know you have all the friends in the, It's ordered, we have it. Oh, we have it, oh. Well, then order an extra one, everyone. No, I'm just kidding. We're back up again. Great. Well, let's look at the next instrument and do a tale of the next instrument. Thank you very much. But Mr. Hogg will still take a tuba if you got one sitting around, or a cello, or, Thank you. Sorry. Why not? Our students can always use it. And then last but not least, Ms. Huerta. I think a lot of people forget that for a lot of our students, the meal they get during the day is possibly the only meal they're going to get during the day. Food insecurity is a big challenge. A lot of families rely on that food. And especially with now cost of living going up, a lot of families have 2-3 jobs. So they don't have even time to feed their kids in the morning. So the food becomes a very important factor for their students. And this is something I see daily at my work. Food insecurity is a big, big challenge for a lot of families. And as the cost of living is going up, families have to take on 2 or 3 jobs now. So remember, next time you also see one of our workers there, thank him, because for some of the students, this is the only meal, good meal they're going to get during the day. So with that said, thank you very much, and thank you everyone for being here tonight.
Hi, thank you. Well, we can't really do.
So I don't know if it's allowed, but can I just bring up something real quick?
So what I would say is this, you can email or write it down, but we can't, the structure of it is we can't do a back and forth as much as we'd like to. So not trying to shut you down.
Okay. I just, I wanted to reach out to everyone, but I don't have anyone's address for Burbank anymore.
Oh, so before you leave, once we're done, we'll write it down for you. Yeah, we'll make sure. We'll write them all down. Okay, thank you. So I'll start off with this amazing community. So I think some of you, but not all of you know, I teach as well. I teach middle school. And I also, this is not at all related to the teaching thing, but I have a Google alert set up on my phone for when Burbank Unified comes up online, because sometimes it can really provide me. Often it's just a story about how terrible I am, but sometimes it's really useful information that I can get as a school board member. And so it was really pretty shocking to have this come up. It was a press release that was released today that talked about a parent community coming to our board meeting tonight because of plans to dismantle the program, and spoke about how despite repeated attempts to engage with the Board of Education, the concerns have been largely dismissed. The board has shown an alarming lack of responsiveness to the needs of the deaf and hard of hearing students. And what was difficult for me, and I immediately went to my email and I went, oh my God, what did I miss? And I didn't have anything. And this is not me saying, well, you should have done X or Y. But my immediate response was, where did I as a board member drop the ball? To whom did I not respond? What email didn't I answer? What meeting didn't I set up? And I didn't have anything. And so the last email I had was with Ms. Matusik in June, over the summer. And I don't say that to say, see, we're cool, but to say that as board members, and I know many of you were here with us a couple of months ago when we had the conversation about the teacher, and that was a big eye opener, I think, for all of us, because while the board is informed about a great many things, often positions that aren't filled, we hear about because somebody either complains about it or we bring it up to Dr. Paramo, but it's not like we're getting sort of live updates. So it made me think about the proactive versus reactive. So just as we had been working for over a year to fill the position, so too were we working to fill the position that had been recently vacated at your school site. And so, Dr. Romo, I want to ask a quick question just to clarify. So, and I think it was Ms. Crow who brought up IEPs being a legally binding document. Absolutely, they are. So my question, and this is something you can either answer now or we can talk about later and bring back, is my concern is about what is the classroom structure like right now for these kiddos? Who is in the space? What I'm hearing is there's not a DHH teacher, but that somebody referenced translators. So could you give me a better picture of like how many kids are in the class? What's the breakdown of instructors in the room? Like how are we meeting or not meeting the IEP specifics?
So the class is a class of 5 students. We have a general education teacher,
right. Okay.
a paraprofessional, and an interpreter. In addition, we have Wendy who goes in, she pushes in every day for 30 minutes. This is what we have for now.
For now.
What we're trying to do is get a certificated deaf and hard of hearing instructor as opposed to a general teacher. Right now, the general teacher is there because we haven't been able to fill the position.
Okay, so that's helpful. So what I heard many of the parents, and Ms. Kerr, I think you illuminated this really specifically, was the importance of having the primary teacher be certificated or in deaf and hard of hearing. So for now, I just want to repeat this back to make sure I get it. So there is a DHH certified paraeducator, a translator, the general ed teacher who's not able to converse, and this is all temporary until we can find a qualified instructor.
That is correct.
Okay.
And we do have connections.
It's not temporary.
What's not temporary?
The teacher.
The general ed teacher.
That's, as far as
We're working on getting a certificated deaf and hard of hearing teacher. We haven't been able to find one.
right. So this is until we can find somebody. So again, I mean, there's obviously, I can see and understand sign enough to see that there's a lot in the front row of disagreement, and that's totally okay. But it would be great to hear about it in real time so that we can address it in real time, especially to all the really valuable requests for being proactive and not reactive. We're in a position now where we're reacting to things as opposed to being able to deal with them. Now, we know that it has been, and we've known for a while, that it has been extremely hard to find the qualified teachers that we need, right? We know that. And that's part of the conversation we've been having with HR to make sure that we are expanding, to Ms. Matusik's point, beyond EdJoin, which we've been doing for some time now, because we don't want it to just be that one place. And we have created those relationships with CSUN and some of the other schools. And I think that was your suggestion when we met a couple of months ago. So that was a wonderful suggestion, and it's one that our HR department has engaged in. So it's clearly not ideal, right, that there's a general ed teacher, but I think that that's recognized. So
Yeah, I was looking for the word and I couldn't find it a minute ago. I guess I'm showing my age. We have agreements with both Cal State Northridge and Cal Lutheran, and that was based on the suggestion that was made prior to try to find more qualified teachers when we're in this situation. And I would like to say that I would have no problem initiating a meeting where someone like Wendy, who's an employee now, can come and sit with me, sit with our director of special ed, so that I can hear directly from them, and we can clarify any issues that seem contradictory to them, so that we can get a straight answer and we can get everybody at the table and we can have a discussion about it.
Yeah, and I think that that's, to me, a really important takeaway, is that nobody up on this dais is here because we don't care about kids, right? Like, we do this because we're passionate about supporting all of our students. We all work other jobs. We're here because we love it. So as a human being, not as a board member, reading that press release and it reflecting us as people who don't care about the community was difficult. And again, like, I'm not asking for sympathy, but it's not a true statement. And I think any of us, I can speak for myself, I respond to every email I get. If I had received an email about any of this, you would have gotten a response from me within 24 hours. I think anybody in this room who's emailed me gets a response from me in 24 hours, except for Joel Schlossman. And you, Armand. Well, I looked back at our correspondence, Ms. Matusik, so I would love to have a continued conversation. I was looking at it today. Nope, gotcha. So I think this is me saying, really begging people to reach out to us rather than reading about us not being responsive. It would be great to have an opportunity to respond. You don't have to like our response, right? You may not disagree with us, you agree with us, and that's totally okay, but give us a chance to respond before we're being labeled as non-responsive. There's nothing more important to all of us than making sure that our students, especially our students who need to learn in a different way. And I can't remember who said it, but I don't think any of us view our deaf and hard of hearing community as handicapped either, right? But I do recognize that our deaf and hard of hearing community needs specific things, just as our hearing community needs specific thing and our English language learner community needs specific things. That's differentiated instruction. That's the foundational basis of everything we do. And what I'm hearing is we need to be doing a better job of it. But what I also hope can be heard is that we give us a chance to respond. Give us a chance to respond. We can't do it in the moment, but we certainly can't do it if we don't hear from people until we read a press release and have people at a board meeting. We want to help. That's why we're doing this. But we can't if we don't know. So I hope that people will continue to reach out or reach out at all and hold us accountable, ask questions, because often there are questions we don't even know to ask, but I hope you'll ask them. We want what's best for your kids more than anything. And so if you are not feeling like that's getting done, then help us get it done. The more information you can share, the better job we do, right? I'm not an expert in DHH. I teach hearing kids, right? So I need your help in learning how to be better advocates and better allies for this community. You know, I make tons of mistakes all the time, but I need people to call me out on those. So the more you can call us out and help us learn, the better allies to all of you we can be. So I know, it's probably not fair to ask you to do more work when you're already feeling like you're not being heard. But if I can ask you to reach out to us, to help educate us, and to let us know what we can be doing better, I would greatly appreciate it. No. I'm gonna, no. No. I'm gonna move on to Melissa. Thank you so much. And Laura, I'm just gonna thank you too. Awkward moment. One of the things that we've been doing a lot of, which again, I'm thinking about communication. And, one of the things that when Dr. Paramo briefed us on what was happening in the classroom, that we asked Dr. Paramo was, did we notify families beforehand and say, hey, we don't have this teacher yet because this teacher left, but here's what we do have. And my understanding is because the IEP criteria was met, they were like, oh, well, we think it's okay. So that's a learning lesson for, I think, all of us, which is we could have done a much better job in communicating that on the front end and saying, here's where we are right now. This is what we're actively trying to get done. Here's what's going to be in place on a temporary basis. And please let us know if you have thoughts, suggestions, and concerns. That's an easy fix to make, and it's something that we can do. Conversely, one of the things I think we can be doing a better job of with CSEA is letting you know that the work that we're doing as a board to make sure that all of your members are feeling supported. So one of the conversations that we had very early on in the summer and also at the end of last year was making sure, it's a small thing, but it's big, is making sure that when a school site is having a lunch or a celebration or whatever it might be, that everybody on site is included. Because we know that has not happened. Dr. Macias is a great model when he was principal at Luther of always making sure that everybody there was included. And so that's something that we talked about as a board, making sure at principals council and in pre-service that there was just that reminder. And our principals are great at it, but hey, make sure everybody's included, right? And so we are focused on that. I've been very lucky to go meet with facilities a whole bunch this year. I just had a great meeting with food service employees and trying to build that relationship so they feel like they can reach out to the board and advocate. And so I just want you to know that you have partners and that we are really thinking more deeply. And a lot of that is thanks to you and the feedback you provide us about, hey, this is happening. This is making our members feel X or Y. Can you think about it? And then that lets us know so that we can do something. So I want to thank you for that partnership because it's taught me an enormous amount. And hopefully we'll just continue to do better by all of your members and by you. So thank you for that. To Harry and the realtors, that was a roller coaster of a public comment. Didn't know where it was going. But I did want to bring up a couple of quick things. One of the things that we actively tried to do differently this cycle is to work with our community partners. And I think you see that in who endorsed the bond. So you have the realtors, you have the Chamber of Commerce, CSEA, BTA, community members, clear across the board. We have, I said BTA and PTA. So many TAs. But we've really tried to make this a community endeavor, which is something I think we haven't done a great job of in the past. So I'm glad that you brought that up. One of the things that I think people know if they've looked at our website before or have been part of, is this okay? Yeah, we want to make sure we're doing everything legally. And so there's a fine line as to what board members can say and not say about the bond. So I'm always doing side eye to Mr. Cantwell, So one of the things that's established as part of the bond is the School Facility Oversight Committee. That was in place for every bond. We're legally required to have it. You can't be, and correct me if I'm wrong here, you cannot be a BUSD employee, correct? And be on SFOC, can you? I think I read that somewhere or made it up right now. Ish. Strike that last comment. The SFOC is a group of Burbank community members who come. Right. Jump in.
The statutory requirement is for 5 members. None of those members would be employees.
That's what I mean.
But we've always gone above the statutory minimum, and so I don't know if beyond that, you are able to, but not for the minimum requirement.
So I mostly understood that correctly. So these are community members that oversee all of this. So if you went online to our very easy to navigate website, you can find the existing SFOC, you can read the reports, you can read where the money goes. So this isn't something where we just kind of kick back and we make random decisions about where the money is being spent. We should be held accountable. There should be oversight, 100%. So I can assure the community in general that there will be. To address a few things that Mr. Schlossman said, I'm not going to allow anybody to demonize our union partners, period. Whether that's BTA, BASA, CSEA, or the myriad unions who work in Burbank. And whether or not they live in Burbank, they have invested their time, their energy, their well-being, their livelihood in our city. So it's typical language to demonize hardworking people. He does it quite a bit, but I'm not going to stand for it. We are lucky that our union community members have stood up and said we support this bond because they understand the importance of strong public schools in our communities. They understand that it increases property value, that it makes our communities safer, that it makes people move here and live here, and thus brings money to Burbank. So we should feel lucky that our unions are looking up and supporting us. It's a gift, right? And that doesn't mean there's backhanded deals going on. You're going to see on the oversight committee and on the dais in open session, communication consistently and openly about a transparent process. So I understand that his goal is to hippity hop here with his cardboard sign and to try to make the community doubt our efficacy and our transparency. But we've been transparent, we'll continue to be. We're lucky to have people in place who constantly challenge us to do better and be better. I did also want to clarify briefly, the $1.2 billion is not the cost of the bond. That when we did our facilities master plan, when they came in and they assessed the amount of work that needed to be done, that was assessed at $1.2 billion. The bond will generate $458 million. So we're not going to be able to do all of the repairs we need to do. But when someone comes to the dais and willfully lies to community members and tells them that they're going to be saddled with $1 billion, it's just frankly a lie. So we've said it before and we've said it again. The priority is to get the correct information out to Burbank voters and allow them to make the decision based on facts. And I feel really confident that we have smart, informed voters here in Burbank. Thank you so much, Community Band. I'll be there on the 26th. Even if I don't behave, I'm still going. I'll be there. It'll be super fun. And just to Ms. Huerta for her coming down and showing up and speaking to how important the free and reduced lunch is. It's just a testament again to the phenomenal staff that we have here and their ability to go above and beyond every single day to make Burbank better. And I know to all the families that came down tonight, that's your goal as well, is to advocate to make Burbank Unified better for your kids, but for all kids. And that I know that you're coming here from a place of anxiety and real care and concern for the students, teachers, and staff in Burbank. And I don't think that's lost on any of us. So I'm really appreciative to you for doing this. And I hope that we'll be able to have more dialogue moving forward.
I did also want to add, I did forget to thank Mr. Harry Timurian. And I also have a lot of family members who are in the real estate business. And for him to acknowledge the fact that one of the reasons, again, a lot of people want to come to Burbank is the quality of our schools. I do appreciate that. Thank you, Harry. And then, sorry. No, I didn't. I'm not going to. And then I'm forgetting what I was going to talk about. But one last thing I did want to also ask Madam Chair is, so we get all these wonderful books. Is it a way we can catalog them annually, digitally, and maybe in print? Can we?
So I did just bring up a few moments ago.
Did you? I'm sorry.
Sure did.
Okay, sorry. Thank you. So I do agree with you. And then one last thing, before I forget to. As a former member of the bond committee, I can tell you that before I was elected, it's a lot, it's a commitment, and I think my colleague, Ms. Tabbitt, can also agree, that the people who get on the committee, there's a process involved, but also it's a commitment depending when you meet. So again, thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you again to everyone. We will not blame anybody for going home, but you're welcome to stay. Good night, Dr. Miller. We are going to move on to reports to the board. 11A, report to the Board of Ed on district hot weather guidelines. Dr. Macias, come on down. Yeah.
All right, good evening once again. To help me present this, I would like to invite Ms. Lenora Aguilera, our lead nurse for Burbank Unified. And before we do start, I do want to paint a background and a context why we're presenting this. And this is data actually that we received in a report from our friends at the county. It's getting hotter in LA County. Longer, hotter days and heat waves are becoming more and more common. Heat waves are lasting longer and more often. Some recent temperature records, the hottest years in history have all been in the last 10 years, between 2014 and 2023. 2023 was the warmest year globally since records began in 1850, and 2024 has seen record-breaking temperatures with strong chance of surpassing 2023's hottest temperatures. So with that, we want to report what our current policies are, procedures. Obviously, we have safeguards in place in the spirit and practice of protecting all our students on all our campuses. So we're going to share some information, and with that, can we share our presentation, please? Okay.
Good evening, everybody. Good to see you. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, most healthy children and adolescents can safely participate in outdoor physical activities in warm to hot weather conditions as long as appropriate preparation, modifications, and monitoring are provided. It's recommended that schools provide and promote consumption of fluids, modify physical activity when necessary by reducing duration or intensity of activity, increasing the frequency or duration of breaks, or rescheduling to a cooler time. Limiting strenuous activities outdoors, especially during the peak sunlight hours between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. is critical. Providing adequate recovery time between games or same-day sessions. Limiting physical activity participation of students who were recently ill. Closely monitoring students for signs of developing heat illness. Checking regularly on young children and those students who are physically challenged or have chronic illnesses.
Okay. And it was important for our lead nurse in Burbank Unified to share those slides because that's what we have in practice right now. And when we do have incidents or moments when our students are reporting things, our nurses come into play and health aides as well. So we want to make sure we acknowledge that we do have measures in place. What measures do we have in place? We have Board Policy 3514 under environmental safety, and same thing with administrative regulations as well, 3514. And that's what this slide is. So we do have measures in place where we do have by temperature what we're asking our school sites to do. rewind a little bit. When we do have extreme heat or hot weather days, we do have notification that does go out by our Student Services Department. First and foremost, so all our office managers, our principals, they get that notification before the school day starts. They send it out to all our teachers, PE coaches, athletic directors, teams. We're all aware of that and fully acknowledging that, and most importantly, compliant with that. So I want our community to know and understand that. When we do get concerns, and we do get those emails, they do get addressed. But we very much are following these board policies and are very consistent with that. Does include air quality measurements, so everything does come into play when we do have moments like that. So during the school day at the elementary level, middle school, high school, when it comes to nutrition, recess, PE, we're all obligated to find these, or are obligated to follow these protocols by board policy and admin regulations.
Can I jump in really quick?
Yes.
I confirm everything that Dr. Macias just said, but I also want to share with you that, and I'll just use this year as an example. We were keeping track of the Weather Channel, and were able to foresee that we were going to have a long stretch of very, very high heat. So prior to even getting to that point, Dr. Macias met with both principals and said, this is what the trajectory looks like for the next 10 days. Let's figure this out, and what are we going to do? That proactive measure was so helpful because they were able to, at least in some cases, rearrange games that could happen on a Saturday as opposed to a Friday, because on Friday it was going to be 104, but on Saturday it was going to drop down to 90. And so being able to do that a week ahead of time, and us taking the initiative to do that, really did help us to navigate and reduce the negative impact it would have on our athletes.
So great segue into new requirements, specifically when it comes to extreme weather. Or extreme heat. By definition, extreme heat is a period of high heat and/or humidity with temperatures above 90 degrees Fahrenheit for 2 to 3 consecutive days. Great example of the high school football game, and I'll get to that in a second. Up on the slide right now are our new policies by the CIF, also corresponding and dictated by California state law, which was Assembly Bill 1653, and this CIF bylaw 503K. Measures have been put in place. We're one of, I believe now, 23 states in the nation that are following these extreme heat guidelines because of a safety measure, and because unfortunately nationwide we've all heard stories of unfortunate casualties and fatalities with extreme weather conditions, extreme heat conditions. So extreme heat procedures, new thing that came into play with the CIF, it does deal with something called the wet bulb globe temperature. That is a measure of stress, heat stress in direct sunlight, which takes into account temperature, humidity, wind speed, sun angle, and cloud cover, which is solar radiation. This differs from the heat index, which takes into consideration temperature and humidity and is calculated for shady areas. The WGT is especially valuable in environments where people are physically active, such as sports, as it provides a better assessment of the risk of heat-related conditions during physical exertion. The CIF requires that schools use the WBGT for the most accurate measurement. So both our high schools are CIF members, Burbank High School and John Burroughs High School. And the one example that I want to point out that Dr. Paramo alluded to, John Burroughs High School had a game very early on against Harvard Westlake that indeed the process that I just explained with the WGT was initiated and active. That caused the game to be delayed by half an hour. That fell in the zone. So again, to get to more specifics, there is a two-step process. It's the bulb reading, and it's corresponding to a zone that Southern California or Los Angeles is. We are category 2, and then by that, they follow these guidelines by the chart, which we see a green, yellow, orange, and red level. And again, a combination of the regular heat index with this bulb reading corresponds to category 2, and then that's what our sports teams are following. Not just games and competitions, but practices. So you can see a series, and I'll give one example. For instance, in category 2, when we are at the red level, contests are permitted with additional hydration breaks. Maximum outdoor practice time is 1 hour. No protective equipment may be worn during practice, and there may be no conditioning activities. There must be 20-minute of rest breaks distributed throughout the hour of practice. So our athletic directors, our assistant principals in charge of overseeing athletics activities, our principals, all our coaches are now fully aware of this and implementing this full time. So this is a drastic measure, something that not only are we required by law to follow, but because of the heat that we're encountering, this is just a matter of reality and fact now. Yes?
So so this takes effect immediately.
Yeah, we're doing it now. Yeah, it was in effect since 2023.
Okay, so then we know that there were some instances of activities, at least in elementary, that did not follow this protocol. And so I'm wondering what we can do to make, because, I think if you look at the previous language, some of it is pretty subjective, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you have someone who's like, this isn't running, this is running, like then so we know that there are a couple of issues, and I'm just wondering, like, it is clear, right? And I think that these are much easier to follow, but how are we going to make sure that the next time we have a 1 billion degree heat, that the people are actually abiding by it?
Go ahead. Well, that I will talk to very specifically. That is on us as a district management team to instill and coordinate with our principals as an oversight and accountability, all the way down to our teachers and athletic trainers, elementary schools, our teachers. We need to have that accountability piece in place. So when we have those concerns, we address it immediately. If there are issues beyond that, then it does become a human resource situation that we do address it that way. Now, these new CIF guidelines are for CIF only. This is a great segue, thank you for the question, into what is expected of us starting July of 2026. Senate Bill 1248, I want to do my best to pronounce this name, Yahushua's Law, will require public schools to adopt uniform safety guidelines for physical activity during extreme weather, which we know is coming, it's here. It will go into effect July 2026. It will eliminate the need for teacher discretion during heat waves by requiring districts to implement a standard set of guidelines to keep students safe. So it removes the teacher discretion, coaches at that moment during the school day. It's a widely spread, concrete district policy that we have to initiate. The last bit, the bill will also require districts to create policies for other types of dangerous weather, such as poor air quality and high winds. Yes.
So, extreme weather definition, it's not only heat, right?
It does not only encounter heat. There are other measures, but for us, because of the trends that we've been encountering, heat is a big factor for us. It could be wind, it can be cold.
Well, I mean, we're seeing tornadoes now sometimes.
Where?
You see them now.
Yeah, it encompasses all of that.
That's cool.
In Southern California, the biggest
weird.
one is our heat.
If you're
So-
asking about the definition, though, of extreme heat, the characteristics of extreme heat would be unusual high temperatures, hotter than normal for a particular area or region, high humidity, extended duration, lack of overnight relief, and urban heat island effect.
And I think that's also just segueing, and there's a bond measure, state to get money to replace blacktop that are causing a lot of, right?
I mean, Prop 2 is the statewide school bond.
Which part of it will be to replace the blacktops that cause a lot of this extra heat too, right? No, there is a proposition, if it passes, part of the money can be used to replace blacktop.
I don't know that. Yeah, we can look. So I think you're probably going to segue to this, so I'll ask and then you can just be like, be quiet. Obviously, the rules for non-CIF school-related stuff, not till 2026. We have an academic year in between. What are we doing to bridge that gap?
Yeah, I think that because the older kids are playing competitive sports, we tend to focus on that when we're talking about extreme heat. And I think in that arena, we're doing really well. We have been making decisions that aren't always popular. For example, it could be 90 degrees out and it seems like it would be okay to have a football game. But if it has been really hot during the day and that turf has been under direct sunlight, that's radiating higher than the temperature that's outside. And we've had to say, no, we're not doing that. So all that to illustrate that I think we're doing a good job at the secondary level. I don't think that we have been giving the same amount of attention to elementary that I think that we need to moving forward. And you asked a good question. I think that we need to, as a district team, make this a priority with our principals. And I think that we need to identify any problematic areas with HR and work on those to make sure that we are keeping kids safe and that we're following the rules. I know this says it doesn't have to go into effect until 2026. However, that doesn't mean we can't say that in Burbank Unified School District we're doing
I was just going to ask that if there's any way for us to just sort of say, nope, now. Right?
Change our policies. Sorry. We could change our policies. We just need to form a committee and make it happen.
So it's clear to me then, let's take the most recent kind of like string of over 100. It was right after Labor Day, right? I know what that looked like. It's clear to me then what happened with like the actual extracurricular sports. What did that actually look like at each grade span kind of level for how they were told to manage like activities with the heat, right? So I know at elementary it was like, okay, you're gonna have to eat in your classroom because the lunch shelter's too hot to eat in. But like, what else were elementary schools told? What were middle schools told, et cetera?
So at the elementary levels for the physical education, they cut back on physical activity. There was indoor physical activity. So maybe until like 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, when the heat had not impacted at the school yet, they were outside. But then in the afternoon, they would go into the auditoriums. They would go and have PE in a classroom and do classroom activities. It's rough, but they did resort to going indoors.
Middle school, indoor lunches were a possibility. They were there. Same thing for PE classes. They were pulled in either the gymnasium, auditorium, or classrooms and had either educational activities or indoor activities as well.
If people have more, I have a question to the left of students. So if you're asking a student-centered question.
I was surprised to see on a Saturday morning when it was hot, someone came out and took the temperature of the field before the freshman football team at Burroughs was able to practice, and it had to be a certain level. I didn't realize we did that, so.
That's great.
And that's a great example of the level of diligence that our coaches are adhering to. Absolutely.
So my question is related to this, but I may look this way for the answer, which is, so we've talked a lot about our students and the things we're going to put in place for them, but I think a lot about our employees. So specifically thinking about like our food service workers at in the Burroughs kitchen with no AC, or our yard supervisors. And so I think we need to talk about what we're building in for our employees as well to make sure that they're safe and not going home with heat-related illnesses.
Totally agree. And I think now that we encountered that this last heat season, we can be a little bit more proactive, but we did put things in place, whether it was portable units or not cooking for a few days and ordering the Domino's pizza that's acceptable for students, because there is a special pizza you have to order.
I know.
And getting that to the kids, just to reduce the risk of harming our people in the cafeteria who are in that environment.
I think it could be useful, and this may already exist, if we could in some way sort of codify those steps, similar to what we do for our students, just so we sort of know, like, when it gets to this degree, rather than, because I think what we did this year, because we had no idea it was going to be like 80 billion trillion for 3 weeks, just so that people know the steps, so they don't necessarily have to wait for you or Mr. Cantwell or somebody else. Like, what do we have in place that can just happen?
Perfect. We will definitely do that, and we'll do that now. I want to ask direction from the board. Are you requesting that staff update our current heat policy to be more emphatic about putting things in place for elementary starting immediately? It sounded to me like that's the case. Yeah, okay, so we'll do that, and then we'll bring it back.
And this is a little longer wish list, but I also want us at one point start looking at, creating green spaces, trees that can generate more shades. I know we've been working with tree people and some of the garden projects, but I believe that, hopefully if, depending on what happens with Prop 2 and there's some funding that could be available, we can really change so I would like to at one point try to see, which schools really need trees. I know we have some schools that have very big open black fields that can use some trees. But so I think we already have some partners, so it's something we can look into down the road. I would appreciate it as well. Thank you.
Sure.
Anything else? Thank you both so much. We are going to, where am I? 12, public hearing, approximately 7:30. I am going to open the public hearing and allow for any public comment for item 12A, public hearing on district's initial proposal for the 2025 through 2028 successor to the current collective bargaining agreement with the Burbank Teachers Association. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Rousing dialogue. Move on to 13A, approval of the district's initial proposal. What I just said, Burbank Teachers Association as presented. Can I have a motion and a second? So moved. Moved by Ms. Ponser-Kamkar, seconded by Dr. Agakanian. Any conversation? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Seeing no opposition, motion carries 4-0. 13C, adoption of Resolution 9 proclaiming November 11th through 15th as National School Psychology Week. May I have a motion and a second? Moved by Dr. Agakanian, seconded by Ms. Ponser-Kamkar. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Seeing no opposition, motion carries 4-0. You can't keep, next time you have to read it.
I'm being polite. I'm being polite.
Thank you for the opportunity to read this resolution, Dr. Agakanian. What a gift. Resolution 9 proclaiming the week of November 11th to 15th, 2024 as National School Psychology Week. Whereas learning and development are directly linked to the mental health of children and a supportive learning environment is an optimal place to promote mental health, and whereas it is imperative that society emphasize the needs of children and youth and invest in education as a top priority, and whereas sound psychological principles are critical to proper instruction and learning, social and emotional development, prevention and early intervention, and support for a culturally diverse student population, and whereas school psychologists are specially trained to deliver mental health services and academic support that lowers barriers to learning and allows teachers to teach more effectively, and whereas school psychologists facilitate collaboration that helps parents and educators identify and reduce risk factors, promote protective factors, create safe schools, and access community resources, and whereas school psychologists are trained to assess barriers to learning, utilize database decision-making, implement research-driven prevention and intervention strategies, evaluate outcomes, and improve accountability. And whereas the staff of the Special Education Department provides schools with school psychologists and school psychologist interns who are dedicated to their mission to ensure that schools are responsive to the psychological needs of students and to help California's children and youth attain intellectual, social, and personal competence. Whereas it is appropriate that Californians take the time to recognize the important and vital role that school psychologists play in the personal and academic development of our state's children. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Burbank Board of Education does hereby proclaim the week of November 11th through 15th, 2024 as National School Psychology Week and encourages all residents of California to celebrate the important contribution of this vital profession.
Beautifully read. What a gift from Dr. Agakanian to you. We're going to move on to 13D, adoption of Resolution 10, support for Prop 2, kindergarten through grade 12 schools and local community college public education facilities, modernization, repair, and safety bond, Act of 2024. She gets this because she brought this. I need a motion in a second.
Second.
Moved by Clerk Ponser Kamkar, seconded by Dr. Agakanian.
And I get to read it.
No. Any discussion?
I'm the one who put this on the agenda, so
I'm really
going to read it.
happy that I just want to say that I'm very happy that you brought it forward and that we can publicly endorse such an important bond.
Yeah.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Seeing no opposition, motion carries 4-0.
All right. Resolution number 10, a resolution of the Governing Board of Education of the Burbank Unified School District supporting Proposition 2, kindergarten through grade 12 schools and local community college public education facilities modernization, repair, and safety bond Act of 2024. Whereas the California Constitution finds public education is a state responsibility in Article 9, Section 5, and whereas the state is out of school facility program funds and cannot provide the state match for almost $3.5 billion in projects which qualify for state aid, and whereas the Burbank Unified School District has approximately $1.1 billion in facility needs, which may be partially funded by state bonds, whereas Proposition 2, the kindergarten through grade 12 school and local community college public education facilities modernization, repair, and safety bond Act of 2024 provides for renovation of aging schools, upgrade of existing classrooms, construction of new classrooms to accommodate growth, career technical education facilities to provide job training to meet the workforce needs of California employees, testing and remediation of lead levels in water at school sites, disaster assistance, replacement of 75-year-old buildings, adding essential facilities like libraries and multipurpose rooms, mitigating the effects of higher average temperatures, and assistance for small and low-wealth school districts. And whereas school districts need state financial support to implement new mandates and initiatives such as universal transitional kindergarten, expanded learning, on-site cooking and meal preparation, later secondary school start times, and solar power generation and storage, and whereas quality 21st century school facilities designed for today's and tomorrow's students enhance academic achievement and further the state's academic goals, and whereas the California unemployment rate is greater than the national unemployment rate, and whereas 13,000 middle-class jobs are created for each $1 billion in school facility infrastructure investment, and whereas these jobs will be created throughout California and will include almost all building trades, and whereas the local control funding formula provides funding for educational services for all students but does not provide dedicated facilities funding, and whereas Proposition 2, the kindergarten through grade 12 schools and local community college public education facilities modernization, repair, and safety bond Act of 2024 will not raise state taxes, and whereas Proposition 2, the kindergarten... Who did this to me? The kindergarten through grade 12 schools and local community college public education facilities modernization, repair, and safety bond Act of 2024 enhances public accountability and transparency for the use of its proceeds. I have to do it 2 more times. No. Whereas Proposition 2, I'm skipping it, will reduce the need for additional local property taxes for school facilities. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Burbank Unified School District supports Proposition 2.
Beautifully read. They beat our bond for length of name. Mr. Cantwell, could I ask you very quickly to explain why Proposition 2 why there's Proposition 2 and Measure ABC? I think it's confusing for many.
Yes, thank you. As was just so eloquently read, Proposition 2 is our state bond. The way that public education is funded in California, the way that school facilities specifically are funded are one of 3 methods. Developer fee dollars or growth fee dollars. through local facility bonds and through state aid. The state currently has no money to fund that third channel, and so they are seeking to raise funds so that they can have funds available to go to the local level to districts. Here in Burbank, we would qualify over the next 5 years for $40 million nearly in match from the state. However, the reason that these work in tandem is that we don't get we don't get the funds from the state unless we have a local match. And so depending on the type of project, as was read here, it's either a 50% match of the overall project value or 60%, depending on the type of funding that we're receiving. But in either case, we have to have a very significant investment here locally in order to tap into those state funds. And so the state is hoping to pass Proposition 2 to refill their accounts to be able to then send that out to the local level, which Burbank would be a beneficiary of.
Thank you so much. I should have brought that up during discussion. Sorry. 13E, approval of school attendance review board, SARB, committee members for 2024-2025 as presented. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Moved by Dr. Agakanian, seconded by Ms. Tabbitt. Any discussion? I will just say that I'm happy to see that it continues to grow more and more student-centered, and I think that's a really important shift for us. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Seeing no opposition, motion carries 4-0. 13F, approval of revisions to Administrative Regulation 5121, grade/evaluation of student achievement as presented. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Moved by Dr. Agakanian, seconded by Clerk Ponser Kamkar. I think you're going to clarify.
Yes. So one of the, a few years ago when we moved from our database system that houses our board policies, we had a couple glitches where we had updated a policy, but when the transition from one platform to the next took place, it uploaded the old version and not the new version. And so this is one of those situations. And so what this update to the policy is doing is recognizing what has been a long-standing practice in Burbank, and it's actually compulsory, is a student has to have a certain amount of instructional minutes in a class in order to get full credit. So based on our school's schedule, our kids have to be in a class for 17 weeks, which means they only have 3 weeks to add or drop a class. So that's what it's clarifying, because the old version said 6 weeks, and it's not 6 weeks, it's 3 weeks. So we are just getting back to where we're supposed to be, and I just wanted to make sure the public knew that and that you guys knew that.
If a student effectively drops a class after 3 weeks, to where do they go during that period? Like, are they then in a study hall? Where are they going? Because it sounds to me like they're not enrolling in something else because they wouldn't get credit for the something else.
So they will be given another class, and the other class that they are going into, technically they're not going to meet the instructional minutes to be able to get full credit. However, we have worked with the County of Los Angeles to provide an alternative means to be able to earn that credit, and that is credit through examination. So if that student, even though they're not in there for a full 17 weeks, if they can go into that class and they can successfully do all the semester's worth of work and pass the final exam, they can receive the full credit, and it's credit by examination.
That's a good question. Anything else? No. Okay. Did we vote already?
No.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Seeing no opposition, motion carries 4-0. We will move on to 13G, right? Am I there? Approval of school-connected independent 501c3 organizations for 2024-2025 as presented. May I have a motion and a second?
Second.
Moved by Ms. Ponser Kamkar, seconded by Dr. Agakanian. Any discussion?
Totally transparent, since that's our theme.
It
I'll
is.
turn on my microphone and
Cool.
speak so folks can hear me. When I got this board report, I had a meeting with Superintendent Dr. Paramo, and sometimes we get carried away, and I forgot to ask this question, but I know that there's 2 more coming. So, so at the next meeting for School Connected, because that's really important that we know who's out there fundraising for our programs and how it's being done, and that we have some oversight. So, JBHS and BHS basketball will, at the next meeting, we'll have to approve theirs.
Okay.
Okay?
And this is something we approve annually?
Annually. And because they were not able to produce their packets within the deadline, Dr. Macias has already contacted those organizations and let them know that they have to cease fundraising until this gets agendized at the next board meeting and approved.
Okay.
So we have 2 coming that will be here in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So the term School Connected Independent 501c3. So are these, again, under the state guidelines, independent, meaning they have their own board, their own bylaws, their own, right?
Correct.
So, and then when they get audited, they have to, if they raise $1 million or more, right?
That's correct, but oftentimes these are organizations that use the school name or Burbank Unified, and so we have to, as a board, recognize them as being connected to the school and to the school district.
But when it comes to liability reasons, they have their own insurance and everything separately, right?
That is correct.
And Mr. Cadman, can you just describe quickly to our viewers what a 501c3 is, just for taxing and donation purposes, and the separation quickly?
Yeah, these organizations, 501c3 is just a relation to the Internal Revenue Code section that allows them to be tax exempt. And so not only are they able to have certain tax preferred treatment, but those who are generous enough to donate to support these programs are able to receive a tax deduction as well.
And just for clarification purposes, they have to do their own accounting and everything else.
That's
Thank you.
Good work.
Brought to you by.
We should really get a sponsorship.
We can just put it right here, right?
I mean, it's on camera more than almost any of us. Okay, I'm very excited about this. 13H, first reading of revisions to board, what? Oh, sure you do. So per what we were just talking about, all board members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Seeing no opposition, motion carries 4-0. Thank you for catching that, Cindy Q. Now, 13H, first reading of revisions to Board Policy 5131.8, mobile communication devices as presented. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Clerk Ponser Kamkar, seconded by Dr. Agakanian. Any discussion? Yes. Robust, I hope.
All right, good evening. I'm excited as well, too. There's been a lot of hearty discussion, a lot of feedback that we've gotten through a lot of our educational partners, and thank you for the drive and vision for us to get to this point for our district, most importantly for our students, who I believe strongly, and you'll see some data in a little bit, why the need is there. So a little bit of background and context again. I'm going to throw some data points at you that is available in this presentation in the appendix. 97% of our students, and this is through Common Sense Media, use their phones during the school day. That's an average of 43 minutes per day. The National Education Association has reported through a poll of their teachers, 83% of them support an all-day phone-free policy. 50% of students who have phones get an average of about 230 notifications per day. Some may receive as many as 4,500 every day. That's 23% occurring during the school day. I can go on, and this is where we're at. So specifically, we're here because of Assembly Bill 3216, which is the Phone Free School Act. It requires every district, charter school, and county office of education develop a policy limiting the use of smartphones by July 1st, 2026. So this is a good example of where we are beating the deadline. We're trying to get this implemented because we see the need for our students and our teachers, as well as our learning environments. Our overall rationale: By restricting the use of devices and their effects during the school day, Burbank Unified School District aims to enhance learning and engagement for every student. This initiative underscores Burbank Unified School District's dedication to ensuring the safety and well-being of both students, faculty, support staff, and administrators while fostering an optimal learning environment. Benefits: less distractions, less cyberbullying, less reported stress among students, benefits of a phone-free policy, fewer fights and social media-related drama, increased engagement, improved attendance, boosted efficiency. Districts nearby, also nationwide, teachers report being ahead of schedule on their lesson plans because they aren't spending time policing phones and because students are completing classwork and assignments faster. I read that one in detail because that's an important aspect of what we're trying to initiate and implement for our classroom learning environments. More reading, improved teacher morale and retention, less mid-class absenteeism. We know this to be the case in practice. Students like to go to the restroom, not only to go to the restroom, but they're taking their device with them for other reasons other than just using the restroom. We have been able to get a lot of data and feedback from our educational partners. 2,512 responses. We surveyed our parents and community members and guardians at our elementary schools all the way through our 3 middle schools. And the question asked of them, do you believe that students should be allowed to use cell phones or smartwatches during school hours? 57.7% have indicated no. No cell phones and smartwatches should be turned off and stored during school hours. Same question was asked of our faculty and support staff, and the response you'll see, 72% have indicated that they would like to see no cell phones or smartwatches should be turned off and stored during school hours. Another question, and there was a lot of questions and data that we gathered. I want a little side note because Dr. Knapik took the lead on this and put this all together for us. Next question that I want to highlight. How important is it for a school to enforce a consistent cell phone and smartwatch policy across all grade levels? Again, we had 2,612 responses, and you see the representation up on the screen. 70%, almost 71%, say it's very important. Our faculty and support staff results, 76%. So overwhelmingly, we are seeing the need. Our community is speaking to us. Quick summary of the proposed policy, but before I do that, we currently have Board Policy 5131.8 titled Mobile Communications Devices, so this would be a revision of that policy. Quick summary, so it is cell phone, smartwatch, electronic devices in total. Phones, cell phones, electronic devices must be off during school hours. Secondly, students may not use their phones or smartwatches and earbuds at lunch. I want to add a notation here because we did get some feedback from our middle schools especially that they want us to look at limiting the use of Chromebooks during lunch as well. Third point here, students should have their phones in their backpacks stored away. And then big summary, we want our partnership with our families at home. We've heard public speakers about that, one in particular, who wanted to make sure that there was a sense of responsibility that we're asking our parents to partner with us in full support of this policy.
So is this the policy for K through 8? Is that what we're saying here?
Thank you, very good question. I should have qualified everything. This is a K through 8 policy only for right now. High school, I'll get to that. We do have something in place right now that we will share in a little bit. Students are permitted to have electronic devices while on campus, but they must be turned off and put away or out of sight from the first bell until students are dismissed by their teacher after dismissal. I want to go back to our board policy 5131.8. It was adopted in 2020. Great opportunity, not only the law that we have to abide by, but a lot has transpired since 2020, and we're seeing a lot of effects of post-pandemic usage because of what just occurred during distance learning. The out-of-sight requirement. Cell phones, headphones, earbud headphones, and such need to be out of sight during class. And I apologize, I negated the words smartwatches because we do have that in play. So that'll be noted. Thank you. I'm catching my own error. I apologize. If an electronic device is seen or heard during the school day, the device will be confiscated, taken from the student, and the student may be referred to the school office. The school will contact the parent guardian to inform them of confiscation. This includes cell phones, gaming devices, tablets, digital cameras, smartwatches, earbuds, headphones, etc. For confiscation, any Burbank Unified staff member can confiscate an electronic device. There are some legalities here that we want to make sure that we are still covering. Recording and videotaping. Recording and videotaping is not allowed. It is illegal to record video or audio a person without their consent. That is California Penal Code 632. If a cell phone electronic device is used to video students, staff, and school activities and/or such, the phone will be confiscated. If deemed necessary, the police may be involved, as cell phone videos can be involved with criminal activities. Yes.
I have a couple of questions. So, and this maybe we can push this to the end, but I think for me, one of the biggest things we need to sort of hammer out is the confiscation. And so are we talking everybody from yard supervisor to food service employee to paras to teachers? Like, I think we need to be really clear about that. And I think we also we mention it briefly here, but what happens when a student refuses? And so this creates, I think we know, this creates additional work. So if we're saying every time we take a phone, a tablet, a smartwatch, or whatever away, somebody has to call, and that's additional time. And even though it may seem small, that adds up, because God knows how much of this will take away at the beginning. So and we can, again, we can shift this to the end, but I want us to have a really robust conversation about what steps are in place, because we allude later on to like what the progressive discipline policy is, but what does that look like? And the other thing that I thought of is I do think we should probably carve out by itself the stuff about like how you can't video. We talk later on about like the, I'm trying to find it. Oh, I'll wait till we get there for the other thing. No, I think it's the question about, you can't cyberbully, right? But what we outline it in here is either during school or after hours at a school event. But there are certainly issues that have come up this year where we're seeing really horrific situations that happen just at home from student to student. So I think we also need to build out a little bit a subsection that really is focused on cyberbullying and how we're addressing it, because it isn't just about like the videos, it's about everything else we're seeing a huge uptick in. But
Hold on.
it'd be only because it was referenced here. I think even if it's just a reiteration of existing policy, I think it's worth including or just expanding so that because we know that there's going to be people looking for loopholes, right? Well, it says I can't do this during a school event or at school. I didn't do it at either. I did it when I was at home.
Point well taken. And we do have a separate policy on cyberbullying, but I think that it's very appropriate to put it here and maybe even cite the other board policy with a notation so that people know where to go. What I would also say is that we're covered under Ed Code if this happens at home where there's cyberbullying, because we know that if there is a negative impact that has a nexus to school the next day, then we have jurisdiction to act. So I think that we can include that in this and put some language in there to emphasize it.
I have a question. So this is a kind of a legality, the right of ownership. What if a student says, "I paid for the phone; it's mine," and
Your property's not your property.
well, I just want clarification on that. So what is the? So can you say what you just said legally? Your property is not your own.
When you're on school grounds, you're tacitly allowing, if there's a reason to presume that somebody is using something for illicit, illegal, or violent purposes, then you can't say you can't look at my phone.
But I'm talking about us confiscating the phone if they don't turn it off. And they can say, well, I just didn't turn it off. It's my phone.
Well, I think that's what I brought up a minute or two ago that we're going to revisit, which is right now we reference it, but we reference it kind of generally, which is like progressive discipline will be followed, which is cool. Here's what happens if a student says, no, it's in here. But I think we need to build it. That was my thought, is that we'll talk more about building that out because we know that that's going to happen.
But also, what about special cases when the student, their cell phone because of,
Of
I don't know if
course.
we had any of those cases or.
We've
Sure.
talked about that.
So there will be exceptions for students who have an IEP that may need to use their cell phone because they need to take a picture of the whiteboard that has their homework. But those are handled through a legal document or contract. Same thing with the 504. We can also put those things in a 504 if they're necessary and it's an accommodation. In practice, if I am the principal of one of our schools and a student is refusing to give me their cell phone, it's a phone call home that says,
Right.
you need to come and pick up your child now. He's refusing to give up his phone. This is what the situation is, and then the parents become involved. I'll take a short bird walk, very small, very quick. What we're finding at Burbank High School with their implementation of a new practice with cell phones is that parents are saying to the administration, oh, so I'm the one that has to pick it up? Yes, you need to be the one to pick it up. I'm not going to give it to your child. You have to come and pick it up. Well, then I'll pick it up on Friday because it's not an emergency and he shouldn't have had it out. So you can keep it for 4 days.
I'm here for that. Can I ask a quick question about our English learners? So I don't know if in every case, if a student is using a phone or a Chromebook for translation purposes, that necessarily, does that always mean they have a 504 in place that allows for such? It doesn't, right? So how do we navigate that?
Those classes those kids would have access to a Chromebook in those classes, and so they would be doing that with their Chromebook.
And just to go with the Burbank High, I was going to do this at the end as well too. In terms of students refusing to turn over their phone, they are not seeing that right now. And this is at a major high school of over 2,500 kids, and they just started that policy this year. So anecdotally and in practice, it's kind of working. A moment like that, and that is the next slide that's covered right now, refusal to hand over a cell phone. A child who does that, it just goes up the ladder immediately. Administration gets involved. It does intervene immediately. Parents get contacted. It just gets elevated immediately and addressed.
So what if a student shows up with I'm going to age myself now, Nokia 6190 or a Motorola Flip, certain old phones that,
Still counts.
It's still a mobile device, electronic device. It's still a phone.
Out of sight.
Yeah.
none of you never owned a Nokia 6190, people?
Dr. Macias, you talked about the survey a little bit, but can you talk a little bit about the conversations that you've been having with administrators at the elementary and middle school level and kind of what their feedback has been on this?
Sure, I can cover the secondary portion, and Dr. Knapp can speak to the elementary principals. But our secondary principals, our middle schools specifically, very much supportive of this policy. It's already been in place. So they've already seen this in action. But to actually have it codified is something they're fully supportive of. They want to protect the learning environments. They are adamant about that, and teachers across the board are very much supportive of that as well, too.
And I'd love to see some kind of a data after like 6 months, a year to see the numbers in terms of learning. And I bet you, again, I'm sorry. I'm excited about this. Thank you.
For the elementary principals, they mirror what the middle school principals were also saying. So they do want those electronic devices put away, especially between the hours of like 8 and 3, let's say, or 8:30 and 3. They want them put away for childcare too, because we're hearing from our childcare partners, they want the phones put away. Because a lot of times that during like off time, that's when things start to go awry. So the more the phones are put away at a school site, the better kids can focus, like Dr. Macias was saying, and they can participate fully and engage fully in the classroom and in childcare too.
I know I was having a conversation with a principal who I think is fully supportive, did have questions about smartwatches and just in terms of like, how are we going to ask teachers to be like, oh, I know that's a smartwatch and this is a analog, a regular watch or whatever it is. My kind of framework on it is really like, if it disrupts class, it's a smartwatch that has to go off and be in your backpack. Now you could have like a old timey, digital Timex that has an alarm that you've accidentally set that goes off in class, but then it needs to go away, right? Is that kind of how we're thinking about it in terms of communicating on that particular thing? Because I feel like we hear from teachers a lot that the smartwatches are a problem.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, the elementary principals were way more vocal about the smartwatches than the secondary. I guess I'm thinking about my time in the classroom. And I'm thinking if I'm standing in front of 34 kids and I see a student distracted because they're messing with their watch, that's when I will walk over and say, hey, you're not supposed to have your smartwatch. And I would confiscate it and I would take it up to the front office and I'd say, Mom, you need to come and pick this up and you can't be wearing the smartwatch. Other than me witnessing a distraction of some sort, I'm probably not going to walk around each row at the beginning of the day to check their watch out. I'm just going to leave it alone until it becomes a problem and then I have to address the problem.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think, some of the feedback that we got in the survey from parents was, I want my even elementary student to be able to have their phone after school for walking home, things like that. And this still protects bell to bell, but that student needs to put that phone in their backpack off when they get to school that day. But the parent still knows that if they've got, location on, that their kid made it to school, whatever it is, right? Is that kind of how we're solving for this? Is that because I know at one point we talked about elementary just being like, don't even bring it. But this way across the board, it's put it in your backpack, it needs to be out.
Yeah, we had that conversation. And when we got the feedback, we started to recognize that the parents had legitimate concerns about being able to communicate with their child after school hours. There could be changes in who's picking them up or what the directions are. So as long as they have it in their backpack, they'll be able to access it once the day is over and they walk out the gates. They can pull their phone out and be able to.
So I think it's interesting. I think probably the most pushback we'll get will be from parents. And so it makes me think about two things. And you've already said this and was already in here, which is about parent education. So making it really clear to our families what this policy is. I mean, I've said this before. In my classroom, 9 times out of 10, if my student's on their phone, it's because mom's like, what do you want for dinner? Are you kidding? But so I think it's reiterating that, but also educating parents on the ability to control screen time so that their apps can't come up between 8 and 3:30, and here's how you do that. And look, parents are either going to do it or not do it, but I think it's important for us to make parents co-partners in this because, again, we can't rely on the teachers to do it themselves. And that's my final question, which is just, well, for this moment, is that, just my own school where I work, like you have teachers who are great at abiding by the cell phone policy, and there are teachers who aren't. And so what happens is it becomes, well, I can use my phone in Dr. W's class. Why can't I use my phone here? So I know that's in many ways on admin to sort of build that culture, and I know it's not going to be perfect from jump, but I think we have to be cognizant of, this doesn't replace classroom management. So how do we make sure that this is holistically done in every classroom and not just in the teachers that are like really good about their classroom management anyway?
Right. You're spot on. They're 100% spot on. And this is only going to work if everybody buys in. And there has to be a commitment from everybody. One of the advantages we have is that this policy that we're bringing forward has already been in practice for some time at the middle school. So those cultures have already been built there. I can't tell you how impressed I am with Burbank High School. District staff did not go to Burbank High School and say, will you start this initiative? Will you pilot this? We did not do that. This came out of the leadership of all the teachers. And the reason why it's working at Burbank High, in my opinion, is that every teacher's enforcing it. So there's consistency, the kids see there's consistency, and so the kids are taking it seriously, and they're not giving them a hard time when their phone gets confiscated. They're following the rules. They don't like it. They may not like it, but they're following. So I feel that that's what's going to have to be the discussion points that myself, Dr. Kanapik, Rebecca Harris, our director of elementary, have with our elementary teachers to make sure that it's going to work the same way at that level as we've seen success in the secondary.
All right, could we get the presentation up again? So we covered refusal to hand over the cell phone device. Student request to phone parent and family member. We've always had measures in place. Offices are available. So this is part of our education, not only of our families, but our students in practice as well. So if there's a need, students should go to the office to request to make a phone call from a school phone. What we're asking our families at home is to pay attention that this school number calling you could be your child, so to be aware of that. Students should not make or answer calls from the school without permission. Here's the most important one, where we do indeed need the partnership at home. Family communication with the student. Family members who need to communicate with the student should call the school office. Family members should not call or text students directly on their cell phones or smartwatches during the school day, as this disrupts the educational environment, much to your example, Dr. Weisberg. Phone calls and or text messages from family members during the school day can result in the student's cell phone being confiscated. So that, yes, is going to be very big on us to have the parent education piece before we fully implement. So rest assured, we will be covering those bases. Policy guidelines, this policy, yes.
Quick question. So, is it the time or is it being on campus? Because let's say I'm still on campus, but school is over. Can I receive text and will it be confiscated? Okay, just for legal clarification, details. So if a student is on campus, but the school is over, they can turn on their phones. Okay, thanks.
Yes. Yes. Guidelines for this policy, it applies to all Burbank Unified preschool, elementary, and middle school students. In the future, additional policies for high schools and alternative school students will be added. I'm going to bring up Burbank High, as we've talked about. Enforcement, school administration, faculty, and sports staff are responsible for enforcing this new policy or revision and ensuring student compliance. Progressive discipline, we talked about. It's something that we will have to get into further details. Progressive discipline measures will be implemented to address policy violations by grade span level. What I want to highlight here is that all our principals were involved in this drafted policy. They saw this, they gave us feedback, and we revised as necessary. We await your feedback as well.
And Mr. Messi, I was in Burbank High with those little mini lockers. And actually, it was right at the end, kind of. And students, actually, to be honest, weren't that enthusiastic to get their phones back. Mm-hmm. But I saw that little box. It's a really good program, and students were kind of just coming along, and So.
Very good. That's it. Thank you. Misuse of cell phones, smartwatches, electronic devices. Cell phones, smartwatches, and electronic devices shall not be used in a manner that infringes on another person's privacy rights, promotes unsafe or inappropriate behavior, or negatively impacts the school and or district, its students or faculty, support staff, and administrators. Inappropriate use of social media, vulgar pictures, text messages, videos, etc. shall not be permitted at any time while the cell phone, smartwatch, electronic device is on school property or at school events. Gets into further detail. These devices may not be used in gym locker rooms and restrooms at any time. Cyberbullying will not be tolerated in any form at any time. Engaging in cyberbullying during school hours or school-sponsored events after hours will result in disciplinary action. Burbank Police Department may be involved depending on the circumstance and incident. According to California Education Code 51512, the use of any electronic listening or recording device in an educational setting without prior consent of the teacher and or the principal is prohibited. Any pupil violating this section will be subject to the appropriate disciplinary action. If misuse occurs, the school or district administration can limit or temporarily ban individuals found using devices on school property or at school-related activities. We have current board policy, and I'm going to cover that right here about search and seizure. When a school official reasonably suspects that a search of a student's mobile communication device will turn up evidence of the student's violation of the law or school rules, such a search shall be conducted, and that's pursuant to our current board policy 5145.12, search and seizure. A Burbank Unified School District student may also be subject to discipline following law, board policy, and/or administrative regulation for off-campus, and this is what Dr. Paramo was referring to, use of a mobile communication device that poses a threat or danger to the safety of students, faculty, support staff, administrators, or district property, or disrupt school activities. Again, we need the partnership and support of our homes, families, parents, guardians. Students are solely responsible for their cell phones. The Burbank Unified School District is not liable for student cell phones, smartwatches, or electronic devices. Students are not allowed to video or record any other student, parent, employee, or person. Parents, guardians are encouraged to support the implementation of this new policy and reinforce the importance adhering to school rules regarding electronic communication devices. Parents, guardians are responsible for ensuring students comply with this policy and understand the consequences of non-compliance. Yes.
So before we get to Burbank High, a couple questions on the elementary middle policy. So I realize this is a first reading, and we're going to polish it up after this. But what are we thinking in terms of timeline for both announcing that this is going to be the policy and actually implementing the policy?
If we can get this to the board at our next meeting and the board approves it, then we can start it at the elementary and middle school immediately. And in terms of Burbank High, they'll be doing what they're doing for the rest of the year. And then Dr. Macias will give you an update on Burroughs.
Well, but when you say immediately, is it like we're sending out e-news saying, by the way, this is the new cell phone policy? Are we going to have
all of the above,
like a Zoom to answer people's questions, some sort of communication with FAQs that goes out kind of next to it? Because I feel like these policies can get pretty dense. And I know we've got some sample FAQs from Phone Free Schools, and I'm sure we got a lot of frequently asked questions in this survey that we could answer that are specific to our schools.
So with the middle schools, it's happening. This is just a technicality to codify. For elementary schools, it's us working with elementary principals to put the procedure together for how we're going to communicate. And I will just tell you that they are very anxious to implement. So I think that would happen fairly quickly. But we have to put that together so that everybody's doing the same thing and the messaging is going out the same way. Dr. Knappich, do you want to add something?
So we do have a draft letter to families already. We have a draft letter to students already. We have a draft letter to our staff already. We have FAQs done. And I think that was it for right now. And maybe we're talking about doing possibly an infographic too, to help better communicate. Yeah.
I thought that was all.
Yeah.
Can you tell they're anxious to do this?
That's great.
Yeah, some of us really geeked out behind the scenes doing this. So,
and just also, I mean, I love all of this happening. Since we're on the topic of cell phones, also eventually, I think also we can integrate into it also the dangers of driving while you're texting as well. That's something that we've talked about in the past, but I think since we're talking about it too, it's something that even afterwards, we should warn our parents and students that, a lot of accidents do happen because of texting.
Is this something that we have talked about this before? Is this something that we can have parents sign off on, when they do the data confirmation stuff at the beginning of the year? Obviously, we can't do that now, but at the start of the year, I feel like this is a great thing to have everybody sign off on. Yeah?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Already discussed for sure. Student Services is on top of it already. So we've alluded to Burbank High's pilot policy and how they honestly took charge and put it into place. And it was a wonderful thing to see develop, and in practice, we're already getting a lot of positive feedback. A lot of good data so far. I was actually at Burbank High today, and I actually asked a question of Ms. Barzigar, like, how's the policy going? And she had some great feedback. So quick summary of what they're doing. And the graphic is up on the slide right now. Number one, no cell phones in the hallways or bathrooms during class time. Phones will be confiscated if used when not allowed. And the third bullet point here, when can you use your phone? During nutrition and lunch and during passing periods. Confiscated phones can only be picked up by a parent from 3:30 p.m. and 4 p.m. And so far, it is working out. So, yeah, great deterrent. What we're seeing in detail policy-wise, students are required to turn in cell phones at the start of each class into cell phone holders. Every classroom has been resourced with these holders. And for bigger classes, they actually have cases or lockers of some sort. Phones are returned at the end of each class period. Students may not take their phones if they ask to leave class. That is monumental. That was a deep reason why Burbank High teachers were real adamant in taking charge and lead of this pilot policy, is they wanted to make sure that when students were going to the bathroom, they were going to come back in 4 or 5 minutes like a normal child would. Sorry. Students using phone during class time inside or outside classroom will be escorted to the office. Confiscated phones will return, as I noted before, after school between 3:30 and 4 p.m. And a phone is not a substitute for a Chromebook. And this is where our teachers come into play in enforcing that policy, unless they are legally are allowed to per their IEP or 504. And as I mentioned before, there's a whole lot of appendix slides and data, including the entire data of our survey to our families and our support staff and faculty. Yes.
I know, and maybe this was scuttled. Like, I know there was a electronic pass situation that you were looking into. I make up that these two things are kind of incompatible, which is maybe fine, maybe not. So
That's why we stopped that. We're
Okay.
taking a pause to figure this piece out first.
Okay, great. And then does the not taking your phone piece also apply to the wellness center? Do we know? I suppose if they're leaving during class?
That's a good question.
That is something I'll get teased out by talking to Burbank High.
And I don't know what the right answer is, but I think they should probably have a policy if they don't already.
Yeah. So what I forgot to mention, so this pilot policy is doing wonders at Burbank High already. And as Dr. Promo indicated, they will be doing this for the entire school year. What we have notified John Burroughs High School just as recently as this week, and I know that Mr. Noop has already communicated with his leadership team, that the expectation is that they look at Burbank High's policy, and that effective January 6th, is that when we return from winter break, 2025, they will be implementing this exact policy as well.
Sorry, I remembered my other question. No, I'm not sorry. I am not sorry. My other question was, going back to Dr. Weisser's question about like who can confiscate, right? So is the policy at a school that kind of anybody who sees a kid using a cell phone when they're not supposed to be using it can confiscate it? And is it just, do those people all know that the policy is then like, okay, I'm taking Char's phone, I'm going to take it to the office, and the office will take it from there? Is that kind of what that it envisions, what you've envisioned that as?
Yeah, yes, and that would require the principal to meet with staff and to explain all of that and to give them the assurance that they will support them and also give them the process they want them to use when they take the phone away.
Okay. Thank you to everybody for a huge amount of work. Thank you to everybody who contributed to the survey. We'll see this again in a couple of weeks. We do need to vote. So all those in favor? Oh, no, I don't think we do.
Nope. Oh, sorry.
We did do a motion in a second, though. So I guess we don't need to vote. Retracted. Okay, 13I, acceptance of Burbank Teachers Association 2025 to 2028 proposal for bargaining a successor to the current agreement with the Burbank Unified School District as presented. May I have a motion and a second? Second. Moved by Dr. Agakanian, seconded by Ms. Ponser-Kamkar. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Seeing no opposition, motion carries 4-0. We'll move on to 14, the consent agenda. Unless anyone wishes to pull items for separate consideration, I need a motion and a second to approve items 14A through 14O as presented. Moved by Ms. Tabbitt, seconded by Dr. Agakanian. Ms. Ponser-Kamkar.
I just wanted to draw attention to the 14E, the asphalt at Edison. I know that was a problem that was identified at the beginning of the school year, and it sounds like it's essentially already fixed, which is amazing. So,
Very fast.
Thank you.
Excellent. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Seeing no opposition, motion carries 4-0. We will move on to reports from the board. Ms. Tabbitt.
Real quick. Thank you to BAEF for their outstanding and very generous grants. Always exciting to see and hear about those. So thank you, because I know it's a lot of work. Thank you to my friend, well, I like to think she's my friend, Annie Kavanaugh, who's the BHS band director. She, at the request of one of our parents, had Burbank High students volunteer. They volunteered. It was not a required performance to come and play at our youth football homecoming. And I know it was very exciting to have a live band, and our little cheerleaders that are like 6 years old to 12 years old danced with the Burbank High band. And I think it was really sweet. And so thank you to all those kids that came out and provided us with some music. We really appreciated it. And I've been getting these for years. Boys and Girls Club, I don't know where you're at, makes these adorable cards for us for all kinds of holidays and seasons and stuff. So thank you. Thank you for thanking us with these cards, but they're super cute, so appreciated. I think that's it. There's all kinds of fundraisers and stuff coming up, so Night of Magic, Burroughs on Broadway, to name a few. There's still 3 football games left, including the big game between Burbank and Burroughs, and currently, if I have my statistics right, they have the same record, 3-1 in league play. The JV game is the 31st. I know. And the varsity game. Yes. Excuse me for coughing into the microphone. Good Lord. And then the varsity game is the 1st, Friday night the 1st. So, and I think. Well, we're all welcome. We always usually go and spend a little time but that is the biggest night, if things go as normal, for the PTAs, who each take on their own sides snack bar. The lines are forever long, and yes, Dr. Agakanian, they can always use volunteers. So
I've already signed up.
Well, there you go. So, and at least come and eat, at the very least. So, thank you, and there you go.
Thank you so much. Clerk Ponser-Kamkar.
I had like 20 places that I went between 2 meetings ago and that next meeting, and then nothing the last 2 weeks, because it's all been non-board stuff. It's been other election-y thingies. But I would just say, by way of announcement, just a reminder that Disney PTA's Dia de los Muertos is this weekend, starting at 5 o'clock on Saturday. It is very, very fun. And what?
Do you have to RSVP?
You do not need to RSVP. The pre-sale has already ended, but you can buy tickets at the door. They are $5 per adult. It is really fun. And then I will be at the Burbank Community Band on 10/26 at Burroughs on Broadway, probably sometime that weekend too. And then Miss Quiterio RSVP'd for me for the Burbank High School Night of Magic. But just by the time we meet again. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
What?
When's our next meeting?
I know. By the time we meet again, it will be like after Halloween, after the election. So I just wanted to remind people to vote.
Vote. That's bananas.
Yeah.
Dr. Agakanian.
I did attend the Family Service Agency gala. Congratulations, Terry Walker. He was honored. Before I go further, actually, Miss, why don't you make the announcement since
Thank you, Dr. Agakanian. Dr. Agakanian very graciously stepped in for me on Tuesday night when I was quite ill, and went to City Council chambers for the presentation of the Clerk's Cup, which Burroughs High School won, which means I won. But yeah, I think that is a back-to-back. So thank you, Dr. Agakanian. Thank you, Burroughs High School. But we all win because all of those young people got registered to vote. So thank you to the city clerk. And we'll look forward to another rematch next year, right? Ms. Tabbitt? All right.
Including Monterey this time.
Including Monterey next time. All right. Yeah, we'll put money on it this time. That feels wrong. Okay, bye.
Thank you, and thank you for allowing me to go and represent our district. So again, the Family Service Agency, a great event, thank you, and congratulations, Terry Walker. I also had the honor of being, as some of you know, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So I was there at the same time with my Zonta Club members. We did receive a proclamation from the city. So thank you, Zonta members, and thank you for putting this out there and creating more awareness about, domestic violence. Other than that, again, been attending events here and there, But other than that, I just want to again make sure that people do attend a lot of these events that are happening. Tomorrow is the Fall Festival at Mirror, if I'm not. Yes, it is. So it's a big one from 3 to 5. I will be there, and then we have Saturday. We have the Morte. And by the way, Ms. Kamkar, you don't have to be. You don't have to be a parent at school. You can attend these events just to support the school.
Yeah,
right?
you can attend Dia de los Muertos. It's a community event, right? So anyone in the Burbank community can attend. There are often neighbors who bring younger children or just come and stop by. There's usually some pretty cool entertainment. There are games. There's good food,
Is there
etc. Face painting? Is that what that was? Or toothbrushing?
Both. No, face painting.
There is face painting. They also sold like. There is not
Is there
toothbrushing.
toothbrushing?
Definitely brush your teeth when you're done because there's usually lots of sweets.
See what happens when we run out of my coffee? Who's been taking my coffee from the back?
All right, moving along
Thank
here,
you.
Spark Plug. Okay, thank you to many people. I want to thank the Boys and Girls Club for the legit cutest Halloween card I've ever gotten. It's very on brand for me. Thank you. Cats. Did want to give a shout out to Kim Clark and the staff at the city for working with us to have a successful Clerk's Cup. I want to thank PTA for the work that they've been doing on educating the public regarding Measure ABC. Thank you for their bond webinar that happened earlier this week. quick thank you to all of the PTAs that I've had a chance to visit in the last couple of weeks. Miller, Burroughs, I'm going to have I can't remember everywhere I went, but it was awesome, as you can clearly see. Thank you to the Executive Board of CSEA for allowing me to connect with them as well, and to the food service employees I've been meeting with recently. And for still being here. Just a quick recognition for Indigenous Peoples Day this past Monday. And also on October 25th is Larry Itliong Day. He is a Filipino-American leader and civil rights activist. He helped organize the farm workers alongside Cesar Chavez. He's an amazing American hero and somebody that you should take some time to learn about. So he's a really interesting human being. He has been, I didn't realize this, they have a California Hall of Fame for people that he has been inducted into, and he is someone who doesn't get enough credit for being a major player in helping unionize our farm workers. And also what Dr. Agakanian said. The movie was about Cesar Chavez. It wasn't Cesar Chavez : Okay. Anyway, learn more about him. He's a true American hero, activist, and leader. And before we adjourn, we will say a huge thank you to Linda Sweeney, a paraeducator in special education who has been with us since 1988. So thank you, Ms. Sweeney, for 35 years of unbelievable service to our district. I can't even imagine how many students and teachers you supported. And we hope that you have a wonderful retirement with our gratitude. So we will adjourn tonight.
Wait, final score?
The final score of the Dodgers? Dodgers 10, Mets 2.
Oh, all right, thank you.
No, it's not it yet. We adjourn at 9:27. Thanks, y'all.